The villain's strategy: the female lead has already been taken down. Hello, Mr. Jiang, I am the Group's medical advisor, as well as the director of the mental evaluation department at Jianghai City 3rd Psychiatric Hospital. According to the proposal from the board of directors, I will ask you a few questions before the official meeting begins. These questions will assess whether you are currently in a state to qualify to inherit Shahuai Group. Now, let us begin. Imagine a train is out of control and speeding down the tracks. On one side of the tracks, there are 5 people tied up and unable to move, while on the other side there is only one person. The train is about to run over them. You are standing by the lever that can switch the train's track. Which side will you choose? At the top floor conference room of Shahuai Tower, Jiang Wuyou stared at the woman in front of him, whose voluptuous figure and flawless skin made her strikingly beautiful, along with the doctor in the white coat standing beside her. He took another glance at the woman's ample chest, took a deep breath, and thought to himself, damn. Is this the woman who was my sister-in-law in the book? No wonder my brother's life was taken by her. No wonder the entire Jiang family fortune was drained by her. What a bewitching woman. Yes, Jiang Wuyou had transmigrated into the novel. Just a few minutes ago, he had been reading the overly dramatic and trashy urban novel, My 7 Sisters, Unparalleled Beauty, and now, he was inside the book. But the problem was, he wasn't the handsome, charming, and carefree male protagonist, Chen, the kind of perfect hero who could get anything he wanted. Instead, he was the stepping stone for the protagonist, the villain in the story, Jiang Wuyou. Jiang Wuyou was supposed to be the heir of Shahuai Group, a well-known and powerful figure. However, his family was struck by a disaster. His father, Jiang Qilong, suddenly suffered a stroke and became paralyzed. Despite seeking help from many renowned doctors, none could cure him. It wasn't until they were introduced to a rising star in the medical world, the so-called goddess of medicine, that things started to change. That goddess of medicine turned out to be none other than his current sister-in-law, Yao Qinxue. In just half a month, Yao Qinxue managed to cure Jiang Qilong, making him overjoyed. Moreover, Jiang Wuyou's older brother was completely captivated by her beauty when they first met. After some time, he fell deeply in love with her. Thus, Jiang Qilong, in his happiness, quickly arranged for his older son to marry Yao Qinxue in grand fashion. However, after this woman entered the Jiang family, everything changed. Jiang Wuyou's older brother was involved in a car accident while his father was away on business, leaving him in a vegetative state in the hospital. Taking advantage of the family's power vacuum, this beautiful woman began to seize control of the company, forging alliances, and slowly took over Shahuai Group. And all of this was part of Yao Qinxue's plan. From Jiang Qilong's stroke to her entering the Jiang family's circle, and even orchestrating the accident involving Jiang Wuyou's father and brother, everything was meticulously plotted by this woman. Now, this woman, whose heart was as venomous as a snake, was trying to use the excuse of saving Shahuai Group to drive Jiang Wuyou out completely and send him to a mental hospital. And all of this was for her younger disciple, who was also the male protagonist of the story, Chen, Jiang Qilong's abandoned illegitimate son. Her dear disciple. She was doing all this to take revenge and pave the way for her beloved disciple's rise. In her mind, everything that once belonged to her disciple was rightfully his again. Disgusting. Just disgusting. The protagonist. Damn the protagonist. Is it fair for the protagonist to do whatever they want? Hey, my dear brother. From today on, Jiang Wuyou would seize your opportunities, steal your women, and teach you how to behave. How did my brother let this woman off their hook? As the younger brother, it's my turn to teach you a lesson. He was going to show her how to truly be a woman of the Jiang family. With that thought, a cold glint flashed in Jiang Wuyou's eyes. He slowly turned his head toward the directors who were eyeing him, and calmly answered the white-coated doctor's question. It's simple. I would choose to crush them all. Not only crush them, but keep running over them, over and over again, until no one could tell that they were human. What? At these words, everyone in the room gasped in shock. Jiang Wuyou, however, had no intention of holding back. The doctor's question was just a trap. No matter how he answered, it would have been wrong. His lovely sister-in-law was already finding every excuse to drag him down. In the original story, Jiang Wuyou was completely ruined by this woman. After losing his inheritance rights, he became desperate and turned to the dark side. Eventually, he was crushed by his younger brother, the dragon-like hero, Chen, and died in despair. But now, Jiang Wuyou had read the whole book. He knew exactly what was going on and was ready to turn the tables on this woman. He was going to catch this bitch off guard. Yao Qinshua's face flickered with surprise. She had expected Jiang Wuyou to give such a vicious answer. But isn't he this better? It showed that her little brother-in-law was just a brainless fool. She could now pull him down without hesitation. However, at that moment, a concerned look appeared on her seductive face. She gazed at Jiang Wuyou and slowly said, "Wuyou, how could you answer like this? It's, really too, Tilder, how can we entrust the group to you now, when your brother and father's spirits are watching from above?" As soon as she said that, many directors nodded in agreement. Several of them had either received bribes from Yao Qinshuo or were promised favors. Yao Qinshuo's words were deliberately meant to provoke a coup d'etat. But Jiang Wuyou, having seen the entire book, knew her intentions very well. Bang! Suddenly, he slammed his palm on the table and glared at the board members with a chilling expression. "What the hell does my choice have to do with you? Since when did Shahuai Group become a place where a woman like you can dictate things?" Everyone froze in place. Yao Qinshuo frowned, and a flash of anger crossed her eyes. This little bastard had lost his mind today. "Wuyou, how could you speak like that? I am your sister-in-law." Jiang Wuyou sneered coldly. "Sister-in-law? You're just a shameless bitch." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the room was stunned, and Yao Qinshuo's face flushed bright red. The murderous intent in her eyes was about to explode. Seeing Yao Qinshuo like this, one of the directors, a fat man, immediately jumped up to defend her, pointing his finger at Jiang Wuyou angrily. "Presumptuous! Young Master Jiang, how dare you insult Director Yao like that? No matter what, she is still the vice president of Shahuai. Gentlemen, I believe that with Jiang Wuyou's character and talent, he is unworthy." But before he could finish his words, bang! A glass ashtray smashed into his head. The next second, the fat man screamed like a pig being slaughtered, clutching his head as blood poured out. The rest of the board members looked on in shock. Yao Qinshuo's faction stood up immediately, glaring at Jiang Wuyou with fiery eyes, enraged. "Jiang Wuyou! How dare you hit someone? You're utterly outrageous. You're a lawless scoundrel. We can't let someone like you ruin Shahuai Group." But Jiang Wuyou just smiled coldly, his mind exhilarated. What does it mean to be a villain? It means doing whatever you want, no rules, no boundaries. He narrowed his eyes, radiating an intimidating aura. "Shut the hell up." Chapter 2, You don't like grinding tofu, do you? Before they could react, Jiang Wuyou took a step forward with his hands clasped behind his back, walking slowly towards them. As he passed each one, he spoke in a low voice, addressing them one by one. "Come on, tell me, how much kickback did you take on the Couple Street project 3 years ago? You? How many invoices have you issued privately over the years? How much of the company's money have you embezzled? Oh right. And you, how many of your own relatives have you placed in your department? Are you planning to bring the dogs from your village to work as the company's watchdogs?" Just a few simple sentences, and the once arrogant individuals were suddenly too frightened to even fart. Shock and disbelief flashed across their faces as they gasped. How did this guy know all of this? Seeing their expressions, Jiang Wuyou smiled in satisfaction and then spoke slowly. "Do you really think I don't know about these dirty little deeds you've been up to? Let me make this clear, there are only 2 sons in the Jiang family. My older brother is dead, so I am the heir. I, Jiang Wuyou, am a simple man, with simple and straightforward principles in both life and work. Anyone who messes with me, I mess with them. I will be the chairman of the Shahuai Group. Who's for me, and who's against me? I'm for you." As soon as Jiang Wuyou finished speaking, a board member quickly raised their hand, showing their support. After all, everyone in this room was sharp, and the ones who could sit here were no fools. Yao Qinshuo might have been able to make them a lot of money, but Jiang Wuyou had the dirt on them that could send them to prison. When comparing the two, everyone knew which side to take. Soon, under the lead of this sensible board member, the rest of the directors also raised their hands, agreeing to make Jiang Wuyou the chairman. On the surface, they smiled and raised their hands, but inside, they were filled with unease because they knew at that moment they were all on a leash. Seeing this, Jiang Wuyou smiled in satisfaction. "Thank you all for your support. Don't worry, after today, all the old matters will be put behind us. Meeting adjourned. Everyone let out a collective breath, and one by one, they stood up to leave. However, Yao Qinxue, who was seated, looked pale, both shocked and furious. How did this spoiled brat change overnight? But as she was deep in thought, Jiang Wuyou, with a mischievous smile, leaned in close to her ear and whispered before leaving. Sis-in-law. We'll settle today's score later. But remember, don't take matters into your own hands tonight. If you need help, you know where to find me. Tilder. As the meeting dispersed and everyone left, Yao Qinxue felt like she was frozen in place. Her once pale face now turned bright red in an instant. She was both embarrassed and furious inside. How did he know? You're shameless. Jiang Wuyou sneered in response and slyly pinched her soft waist. The moment he did, Yao Qinxue shuddered, as though she had been shocked by an electric current. But there were still many people in the room, so she didn't dare to shout out loud. She could only bite her lip and, with her face flushed, glare at Jiang Wuyou with anger in her eyes. But the more she glared at him, the more unrestrained Jiang Wuyou became. I'm shameless. Heh, that's right. I am shameless. I'm not just shameless, I'm also filthy. I'm not only filthy, I also have that video of you, don't I? Sis-in-law. You wouldn't want that video to leak, would you? You wouldn't want anyone to see your filthy expressions and appearance. He wasn't lying. This venomous woman was too beautiful. The original owner had always had thoughts about her and had even tried some underhanded tactics, but his methods were too poor and he had been played by her. Yao Qinxue's hot body trembled. At this moment, all she felt when looking at Jiang Wuyou was fear. This guy suddenly felt so unfamiliar to her. What do you want from me? Yao Qinxue's breathing grew more rapid. Jiang Wuyou chuckled and pinched her fair little hand, playing with it. Ever since the Jiu family called off the engagement, Ruo she hasn't paid any attention to me. As your brother-in-law, aren't you going to help me out? Can you arrange for her to meet me? I need to talk to her about something. He was referring to the original owner's fiancée, Jiu Ruoshi, the president of Baikao Group. She was stunningly beautiful, but not long ago, the Jiu family had called off the engagement. Jiang Wuyou knew that it was all thanks to this good sister-in-law of his. The Jiu family's daughter was in poor health, and this sister-in-law was quite skilled in medicine. She had designed a way to get close to Jiu Ruoshi, became good friends with her, and played a huge role in the cancellation of the engagement. Thinking of this, Jiang Wuyou sneered inwardly. Hearing him call her a good brother-in-law, Yao Qinxue felt disgust in her heart. This lecher. Jiu Ruoshi was the woman and the foundation she had prepared for her soon to be coming down the mountain Junia. It couldn't go wrong. Especially with today's unexpected turn of events. Help you? How would I help you? You fool around with women outside, and if it gets to the Jiu family's ears, who are you going to blame? Besides, Ruoshi is a woman who can't stand any dirt. I suggest you give up. Jiang Wuyou, seeing his sister-in-law speak so righteously, suppressed his anger, and then, with a playful smile, said, I heard that you and her are very close, like sisters. As he spoke, Jiang Wuyou suddenly had an epiphany expression on his face. Sis-in-law, no wonder you'd rather take matters into your own hands than do that with my brother. You don't like grinding tofu, do you? Yao Qinxue was first slightly stunned, but soon realized what he meant and grew furious. Scoundrel, shut up, don't even think about it. Jiang Wuyou looked at her, laughed heartily, and left. Yao Qinxue watched him leave with a back full of anger and suspicion. This spoiled brat, how did he become someone else overnight? Ding ding ding. Just then, her phone rang, and she picked it up, her frosty face turning gentle as she answered the call. Xiao Chen. Immediately, a cheerful male voice came from the other end of the line. Senior sister. I'm coming down from the mountain. Master told me to find you. Where are you? I'm at the Jiang family in Jianghai. Yao Qinxue looked out the window at the view. The voice on the other end immediately darkened. What are you doing there? Taking back what was originally yours. I don't need it. The humiliation my mother and I suffered, I'll take care of it myself. The voice was filled with hatred. Be good, listen to your senior sister, let us have dinner tonight, I'll introduce someone to you. Her voice was gentle yet firm. There was silence on the other end for a moment, then the voice said, "I'll be there soon." And then the line went dead. Yao Qinxue shook her head and smiled. Her junior was still so stubborn. Then, her gaze turned cold as she looked outside. The driver had opened the car door and was driving away. Her eyes narrowed with a dangerous gleam. Later that evening, at the Dehao restaurant in Jianghai, a woman dressed in a grey business suit, with a slender figure and a cool, refined appearance, walked through the restaurant doors. Her aura was strong and intimidating, but her stunning figure and appearance still attracted attention. However, her delicate features concealed a hint of illness. This woman was none other than Jiang Wuyou, the president of Baikao Group. Behind her, a middle-aged attendant followed. "Ruoshi, over here." Chapter 3, Absolutely Perverted. At this moment, a woman with a stunning figure and an elegant demeanor called out to Jiang Ruoshi. This woman was none other than Jiang Wuyi's sister-in-law, Yao Qinxue. Jiang Ruoshi nodded and walked over to take a seat. The dining table was already filled with various seafood dishes, and after Jiang Ruoshi settled down, Yao Qinxue introduced a young man sitting next to her, dressed in simple clothes but exuding an impressive aura. "Ruoshi, let me introduce my younger brother, Chen. He studied under a great doctor in the mountains and has just returned. As for your health issues, I can only help alleviate them, but my younger brother might be able to cure them." Jiang Ruoshi gave Chen a slightly surprised look, but didn't he show much emotion, merely offering a brief greeting. "Hello." It was just a formality. She knew how difficult her health issues were to treat. She had consulted countless famous doctors, so she didn't have much hope for Chen. However, when Chen saw Jiang Ruoshi, his eyes immediately brightened. He was astonished by her beauty. This woman was stunning. But between her brows, there was a knot of hidden pain, and her body seemed to be plagued by serious ailments. He couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency in his heart. But he kept his composure and spoke. "Miss Jiang, if..." Just as he was about to continue, a commotion suddenly erupted outside the restaurant. Then, Jiang Wuyou, wearing sunglasses, entered, surrounded by a group of bodyguards. Upon seeing the crowded restaurant, he immediately frowned and shouted at his bodyguards. "What the hell are these people doing here? Eating with me? Get them out. Throw them all out." Without a word, the bodyguards immediately began to throw stacks of red banknotes at the diners' faces. Meanwhile, Jiang Wuyou took off his sunglasses and walked forward. With a wicked smile, he looked at his sister-in-law, whose face had changed, and then turned to Jiang Ruoshi, who was frowning. "Ah. Good sister-in-law, you really are tough on the outside but soft on the inside. You've really moved me. Ruoshi, you finally agreed to see me." Saying this, he sat down next to Jiang Ruoshi, grabbed a large abalone from the table, and took a big bite. He glanced at his sister-in-law's unpleasant expression and said with a smile that seemed neither sincere nor friendly, "This abalone is cooked well, but it's especially sensitive to temperature. It swells when hot and shrinks when cold. If any uninformed diners take a bite now, the abalone will spurt out. And the cold water inside could be bad for you, Ruoshi, given your health issues. You should be careful. Don't you agree, sister-in-law?" Hearing this, Yao Qinxue, whose face had already been unpleasant, suddenly turned pale and her eyes filled with suspicion. How did he know about the abalone issue? She couldn't help but look nervously at Jiang Ruoshi. Just then, there was a loud bang as a voice full of cold rage cut through the tense atmosphere. "Are you Jiang Wuyou?" Chen, his eyes blazing with fury, looked at Jiang Wuyou with a piercing, murderous gaze. The hatred and resentment he felt for this half-brother who had once abandoned and chased him down surged up uncontrollably. "Oh? And who might you be?" Jiang Wuyou shook his head, looking at Chen, the novel's male lead, with a mocking smile. "Are you getting anxious? But everything has just begun, my dear little brother." Before Chen could respond, an anxious voice suddenly broke the tension. Miss. What's happening?" It was then that Jiang Ruoshi suddenly clutched her stomach, her previously calm face twisted with pain. The middle-aged servant beside her immediately rushed to support her. When Jiang Wuyou saw this, he couldn't help but smile smugly. Because, as written in the book, Yao Qinxue had deliberately chosen this time to meet with Jiang Ruoshi. She knew that Jiang Ruoshi had an old ailment, and with Chen descending the mountain, Yao Qinshue had set things up so that Jiyu Ruoshi would fall ill again. This would allow her brother to step in and save the day. The plan was to win the beauty and seize her wealth. Truly perverted. But Jiang Wuyou wasn't he going to let these people have it their way? At that moment, the middle-aged servant, seeing his mistress's face turn ashen, hurriedly laid Jiyu Ruoshi flat on the ground and began pressing on her acupuncture points. After a while, there was no improvement, and he even took out a set of silver needles, seeming as though he had done this many times before, and began to needle her. But it still had no effect. Jiyu Ruoshi let out a miserable cry and fainted. This frightened the servant, who, in a panic, turned to Yao Qinshue for help. "Miss Yao, my lady's old illness has flared up again. It doesn't look good. Please call for an ambulance." Yao Qinshue, with her superb acting skills, showed a deep concern. "Don't worry. I'm aware of Ruoshi's condition. That's why I introduced my brother to her. Let my brother take a look. Xiao Chen, life is at stake. Quickly help Ruoshi, and I'll go call an ambulance." Yi Chen, full of confidence, stood up immediately. At this point, the middle-aged servant, like a headless chicken, turned to Yi Chen in desperate need. But just then, a voice, calm and unhurried, broke the silence. "Stop fussing. This isn't a big deal. Your mistress's illness is not difficult to treat." The middle-aged servant turned in shock, but when he saw the notorious young man who had once been betrothed to his mistress, his anger turned to hesitation. "Miss Jiyu is in critical condition, and you're still spouting nonsense? Get out of the way." Yi Chen's voice grew louder. Jiang Wuyou sneered coldly. "Who's talking nonsense? What? You, a spoiled rich kid, no medicine. TSK, and you," he pointed at the middle-aged man, "I'm telling you, you need to help me with the acupuncture. Acupuncture should target the Tanzhong point, the Yutang point, and the Shiguan point. Needle them half an inch deep, and let the qi flow for 10 seconds. The middle-aged servant's face was full of refusal. He looked at Yi Chen for help, but upon hearing Jiang Wuyou mention the acupuncture points, Yi Chen's face changed drastically. He wanted to retort but found himself unable to speak. How did this guy know all the points? "Are you going to do it or not? If my fiancé dies, I'll hold you accountable." Jiang Wuyou suddenly shouted loudly. The middle-aged servant, frightened, reluctantly began needling the points under Jiang Wuyou's stern gaze and the bodyguard's threatening stares. Poof! As the last needle was inserted, a spurt of black blood shot out from Jiyu Ruoshi's mouth. Then, she slowly came to her senses, her bright eyes opening. At this moment, Yao Qinshue, who had been calling for an ambulance, so that Jiyu Ruoshi had woken up. Her face immediately lit up with joy. "Ruoshi, you scared me to death. Luckily, my brother acted in time. See, I wasn't wrong. My brother really is capable." Jiyu Ruoshi nodded, her eyes showing a hint of gratitude. "Thank you, Shuejie. I didn't expect this gentleman to actually help me." She looked at Yi Chen and was about to speak when the servant next to her interrupted, stammering. "Miss, it was Master Jiang who saved you?" At this revelation, Yao Qinshue's smile froze, and she turned to look at Jiang Wuyou in disbelief. What just happened? Jiang Wuyou gave her a wicked smile and then looked at the dark expression on Yi Chen's face. Inside, he was elated. The son of fortune. Ridiculous. Tonight, I'll steal your luck, take your woman, and what can you do about it? Chapter 4. You don't want your junior to know. At night, in the Jiang mansion, in a foggy bathroom, Yao Qinshue sat in the fish tank with empty eyes, staring blankly at the warm white foam slowly wriggling on her plump body, her heart in great confusion. Originally, Baikao Group and Jiyu Ruoshi were stepping stones she prepared for her junior brother. He wanted Yi Chen to stand out with his medical skills. But who would have thought that Jiang Wuyou, that bastard, would snatch it away? All my years of preparation and groundwork have been used to help others tonight. Thinking of this, Yao Qinshue felt overwhelmed with depression, and her hatred towards Jiang Wuyou intensified. My poor little brother, I must help him myself. Boom boom boom. But just as Yao Qinshue was worried, a knock on the door suddenly came into her ears. She was suddenly shocked. The next second, the bathroom door opened. A big, lustful face gradually became clearer and clearer in the fog. Sister-in-law. Why don't you do it manually? I want to come in Tilda. Yao Qinshue's face changed drastically. She hurriedly stood up from the bathtub and picked up the bath towel beside her in a panic, trying to cover her plump body. But the white foam on her body fell to the ground, slowly prying the gears of fate, causing her feet to slip, and she fell to the ground with a thump. This time, the plump body was completely covered. But those long legs were facing Jiang Wuyou. At this moment, even though the scene was covered by thick fog, Jiang Wuyou was completely stunned. I didn't expect that. My sister-in-law is really charming, fair and tender, pure and innocent. As the saying goes, it's like when all the birds have eaten and they fly back to the forest, leaving the earth white and clean. Feeling Jiang Wuyou's burning gaze, she was almost burned. Yao Qinshue's face immediately turned red. She was shocked and angry. Jiang Wuyou, what are you doing? I'm your sister-in-law. As she spoke, she struggled to get up from the ground. But at this moment, Jiang Wuyou's pair of hot big hands, one hugged her slender waist, and the other passed through between her two slender legs, and picked her up horizontally. True love can transcend even race. What about between you and me? Besides, we are two adults. It's normal for us to do something together. For example, watching the flood breaking the riverbank on TV together, flying a giant plane in the game together, or doing those dirty deals together on a romantic night. That's enough. Although Yao Qinshuo was made weak all over by the powerful masculine aura gushing out of Jiang Wuyou's mouth and nose, her lower abdomen was also extremely hot. But she still used up her last bit of strength to break free from Jiang Wuyou's strong arms. She picked up the white bath towel at hand and covered her plump and attractive body. Her face flushed with shame and she stared at Jiang Wuyou fiercely. What on earth are you doing here? Jiang Wuyou smiled and spread his hands. I told you, let's do some dirty work. Har har, the situation at the Heir restaurant today must have been planned by my sister-in-law for a long time. I'm sure you know all about my fiancé's problems. You've done so much for your little brother. Why don't you think about me, your brother? As Jiang Wuyou spoke, he stepped forward. When he finished speaking, his voice became fierce, and his hot big hands directly climbed up a certain jade maiden peak that was towering into the clouds. Yao Qinshue's delicate body trembled suddenly. She let out a low cry, and then Jiang Wuyou covered her mouth. Then she heard the devil's whispers in her ears. Your little brother is in the next room right now. If you're not afraid of being heard by him, just scream. The voice in her ear made her face turn pale and she pursed her lips tightly. As the big hands playing tricks on her skin became more and more wanton, Yao Qinshue's delicate body trembled slightly uncontrollably. Even every pore on her body is instinctively begging for something. After Yao Qinshuo came back to her senses, her beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Jiang Wuyou viciously. Now she really wanted to slap this bastard. But when she thought of what he had just said, and then thought of her brother, she clenched her lips tightly. The cherry mouth was slightly opened, but finally closed. Jiang Wuyou looked at Yao Qinshue's furious expression and a sly smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He watched the performance of this femme fatale with amusement. That's a good performance. I'll give you a little treat as a reward. As he spoke, Jiang Wuyou picked up Yao Qinshue's bathrobe and underwear, opened the window, and threw all these things out of the window, with the smirk on his face becoming even wider. Your brother is in the next room. When you go back to your room naked, make sure your brother doesn't find you Tilda. Jiang Wuyou narrowed his eyes and took out his cell phone. On the screen was everything he had just discovered in the bathroom. Har har har. After saying that, Jiang Wuyou put the phone into Yao Qinshue's little hand, then laughed out loud, turned around and left. While Yao Qinshuo was looking at the video on her mobile phone, her face that was unable to stop and her body that was tense to release the desire, an unprecedented sense of shame instantly enveloped her. But what's more, it's fear. This guy has become a little scary to her. Why does this dude seem like a different person? What is going on? On the other side, Jiang Wuyou felt extremely refreshed after returning to his room. You know, for the protagonist of this novel. In fact, the biggest opportunity is his 7 senior sisters. Because these 7 senior sisters have special physiques. As long as you tame them, you can obtain the real dragon fragments in their bodies. Of course, real dragons are unruly, except for Chen, who is the son of destiny in the original work. It is almost impossible for others to tame it. But Jiang Wuyou had his own plans. As for women, just seduce them to follow their most primitive desires. Easy to tame both mentally and physically. Just don't let Yao Qin Shue just now. Even though she said no, her body was very obedient. The experimental taming I just did was very effective. As he spoke, Jiang Wuyou slowly raised his arm. There was actually a faint trace of true dragon energy entwined on the finger that had just loosened the earth soil. Jiang Wuyou's eyes became stern and he spread his fingers slightly. The next second, a hole as big as a car wheel was poked in the distant wall. At this moment, Jiang Wuyou was stunned. Oh my god! Just because he taught his good sister-in-law a lesson, she has such power. If he could take all those 7 women into his possession, wouldn't he be able to ascend to heaven right on the spot? No wonder her good brother in the original book was so invincible. It turns out her senior sisters were so awesome. A slight smile flashed across Jiang Wuyou's lips again. But what a pity. Now, as the protagonist, you, Yi Chen, have no chance anymore. Not only will you not be able to enjoy this opportunity, but even the woman will be taken away by me. Thinking of this, Jiang Wuyou looked at his fingers. It all starts with you. My Kato finger. Chapter 5, Late Night Visitor. Late at night, in a large room at Jiang's house. In the darkness, 2 beds lay between them. Drip drip drip. The rhythmic ventilator is supplying life-sustaining oxygen to the patient in the bed. A female nurse was taking a nap next to a hospital bed. Just then. Squeak. In the silence of the night, the door opened. A dark figure walked in silently. He walked to the middle of the 2 beds and stopped. The shadow's eyes fell on one of the beds. Lying on the hospital bed was a middle-aged man with heavy facial features. Even with his eyes closed, he exuded a sense of majesty. This person is the patriarch of the Jiang family, but now he is in a vegetable. The black shadow looked at the head of the Jiang family lying on the bed. His breathing became heavier and heavier, and his eyes in the darkness were filled with anger and resentment. He walked forward slowly, reached out and grabbed the oxygen tube, as if he was going to pull out the tube in the next second. But finally, the shadow let go. He went out and came to the 2nd floor, in front of Jiang Wuyou's study. With just a twist of the hand, there was a slight click from inside and the locked door was opened. Then, the other party sneaked in silently like a ghost. Then he searched around the huge study room, but after a few minutes seemed to have found nothing, and finally came to the computer in the study room. Ding dong, the computer turns on. The screen lit up, and a young and gloomy face gradually became clear in front of the computer screen. He opened the folder. Look inside for what you want. Suddenly, his eyes focused and he saw a folder called Sister-in-Law, and his eyes became angry. What did that bastard hide from senior sister? Thinking of this, the hand pressing on the keyboard moved towards the folder. Snap. The next second, the light in the study suddenly lit up. A voice sounded from the door. What are you doing in the middle of the night? At the door of the study, Jiang Wuyou was seen wearing pajamas, leaning against the door frame with his arms folded across his chest, looking at Yi Chen, who suddenly stood up in front of the computer with a half-smile in his eyes. He had installed surveillance cameras in the Jiang residence, and he knew that this good brother would not behave himself after coming to the Jiang family, and it turned out to be true. But the other party was like an angry lion, pointing at the computer with a gloomy face. Why are there files about my sister in your computer? When Jiang Wuyou heard this, the arc of his mouth widened. Oh, you took my things without the owner's consent and turned the tables. Brother Yi, do you think this is appropriate? Let me ask you, what did you hide in your computer about my sister? Yi Chen repeated, his expression becoming more dangerous. The folder I just opened actually requires a password. This implies that there must be something fishy about the file that Jiang Wuyou marked. What concerned him even more was that the name of this file was the name of the senior sister who loved him the most. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Just then, a slightly panicked voice sounded. What's going on? Sister-in-law Yao Qin Shue appears. At this time, she was wearing a bright red string-style pajamas, and her amazing whiteness was revealed under the long V-neck. When she heard the noise and saw her younger brother's expression, as well as Jiang Wuyou blocking the door, her voice sounded a little panicked. Jiang Wuyou took a fierce look at his sister-in-law's chest, smiled a little weirdly, and pointed inside. Sister-in-law, I guess you, a kid from the mountains, are too lonely at night and want to play on the computer. It's no big deal. However, it's best to follow the rules and get the owner's consent before stepping on it, otherwise you might see something you shouldn't see. Don't you think so? No, he's making trouble with me. When Yao Qinshue heard what he said, his eyes tightened. He vaguely guessed the purpose of his junior brother appearing here in the middle of the night. Could it be that junior brother has found the evidence from that year and confronted that playboy Jiang Wuyou? This is obviously unwise. Her eyes tightened and she looked at her junior brother, pretending to be serious. Little brother, it's late, go back to sleep. Yi Chen's face was gloomy. Sister, this guy has marked your file on his computer, he must explain it clearly today. Yao Qinshue was stunned when she heard this. Are my files marked on the computer? He obviously couldn't understand the meaning of a man listing a woman's name separately in a folder deep in his computer. But at this time, Jiang Wuyou whispered in her ear. Sister-in-law, I took some videos of you. As soon as these words came out, Yao Qinshue's expression suddenly changed. His fair face looked even paler under the light. She thought about what Jiang Wuyou had said to her after the board meeting during the day. This scoundrel actually installed surveillance cameras at home and had been secretly observing her. Took some embarrassing videos. If this is true, she couldn't imagine that if it was exposed in front of her beloved junior brother, then. When Jiang Wuyou saw this scene, he felt extremely disgusted. After saying this, he walked straight towards the computer desk. I saw the password box on the screen and entered the password. Since you want to give an explanation, I'll show it to you. His action frightened the sister-in-law so much that she screamed. Don't want. Chapter 6 Bad Taste. She hurried to stop it. At this time, the file was also opened, and Yi Chen quickly clicked on it. When I opened it, I saw that the folder was full of company documents. Internal group business strategy. 3 steps for the first half of the year marketing plan. It's just that these documents are all signed by Yao Qinshue. When Yi Chen saw this scene, his ugly expression gradually relaxed a lot. Yao Qinshue's heart, which had been in her throat, finally saw clearly what it was and breathed a sigh of relief. A false alarm. Jiang Wuyou looked at the reactions of the two men and sneered. Now you see clearly. Now that you've settled this matter, what about you coming to my study in the middle of the night and touching my computer? Even if you are my sister-in-law's brother, you still have to remember your identity. After hearing these sarcastic words, Yi Chen, who already hated his identity, couldn't help but frown. At this time, Yao Qinshue quickly spoke up and pulled Yi Chen out. It's so late, go to bed. Obedient. After that, he said to Jiang Wuyou. He's not familiar with this place. He probably went to the wrong house. Don't mind it. While speaking, she did not dare to look at Jiang Wuyou. The teasing of her brother-in-law just now made her feel scared. At this time, flee in panic. Jiang Wuyou watched the two people leave, with a dangerous curve at the corner of his mouth. The fun has just begun. The next day, Yi Chen left Jiang Mansion early in the morning, not knowing where he was going. Jiang Wuyou slept in and woke up naturally. Comfortable. He got up and stretched. After washing up, he used the intercom in his room to ask the kitchen to prepare breakfast. As a result, when I walked to the door of the study, I heard slight noises inside. He suddenly opened the study door. A scream was heard. I saw my sister-in-law Yao Qinshue, who was sitting in front of the computer last night, standing up in fear like a frightened rabbit. Sister-in-law, what are you doing? Do you still want to see the documents from last night? The one yesterday was fake. Why, do you want to see the real thing? He approached with a teasing smile. Yao Qinshue understood what he meant and felt angry and furious. You bastard. As he said this, he pretended to push away Jiang Wuyou who was approaching. Unexpectedly, Jiang Wuyou dodged. Yao Qinshue's attempt to exert force failed, and she staggered and fell directly to the ground. Jiang Wuyou chuckled and bent down. Looking at this sister-in-law's outfit today, a sky blue suspender skirt. And she sat on the ground with her transparent stockings showing through her skirt. What's even more charming is the anger and blush on her pretty face. Whether I am a bastard or not, my sister-in-law knows it very well. Jiang Wuyou put his hand around his sister-in-law's face. My eyes can't help but look down. The fullness of the other person's chest seemed to be about to burst out. The strong visual impact made Jiang Wuyou a little distracted. Get lost. Don't touch me. Yao Qinshue angrily slapped Jiang Wuyou with her hand. Jiang Wuyou let go and laughed. Since my sister-in-law doesn't allow me to touch it, I naturally won't touch it. As he was about to turn on the computer. Since you want to see those documents, I'll find them for you to enjoy. However, before he could make any move, his trouser leg was grabbed by a hand. Yao Qinshui was such a proud woman, at this moment she could only hold onto Jiang Wuyou's trouser legs. Biting his lips, he spoke dryly. You delete all those files. You should have the attitude of asking for help, right, dear sister-in-law. Jiang Wuyou's tone was full of evil amusement. He just wanted to trample on Yao Qinshui's heart again and again. As he spoke, he touched the other person's smooth and delicate face with his hand. Sister-in-law, you are so beautiful. Yao Qinshui suppressed her anger and dared not move. This dude is a devil. I thought to myself that I must get rid of this guy someday. Now, just think of it as a dog bite. Just as she felt the other person's fingers slowly sliding down her collar, Jiang Wuyou suddenly pushed her away. How boring. Yao Qinshui's face turned blue and red all of a sudden. You? Why, sister-in-law, are you reluctant to let go? Jiang Wuyou looked amused. Just as the two were entangled, a beautiful woman came to Jiang's house. Is your young master here? The woman asked the servants in the Jiang residence. It's Miss Jiu. The young master just got up and should be in the study at this time. Please go up. The servants were a little surprised when they saw the visitor. This person is none other than Miss Jiu Ruoshi from the Jiu family, the young master's previous fiancée. But didn't he Miss Jiu break off the engagement? Why, you come to visit the young master today. However, this was not something a servant like him should be responsible for, so he quickly pointed downstairs respectfully. And Jiu Ruoshi nodded. So I went upstairs. The reason she came this time was to thank Jiang Wuyou in person for his help yesterday. Then, she also had a selfish motive of her own. She was also very curious about how this rumored to be terrible young master of the Jiang family cured her illness. A blind cat catches a dead mouse, or? She was determined to give it a try. Her illness had tormented her for so many years, so she didn't want to give up any hope. Thinking about this, she came to Jiang Wuyou's study. Just as I was about to knock on the door, I heard strange noises inside. And there was just a crack in the door. Somehow, she was compelled to look outside the crack in the door. The next second, she covered her mouth and widened her eyes in surprise to prevent herself from screaming. Qinshui and Jiang Wuyou. What's going on with the two of them? My brother and sister-in-law are hanging out together? It was the first time she had seen such an explosive thing. Inside the room, Yao Qinshui's delicate face was red, as if it was almost dripping with blood. Asshole, are you kidding me? How could that be? But my sister-in-law seemed to be very cooperative just now. Jiang Wuyou laughed freely. Yao Qinshui wanted to curse, but she didn't know how to say it out loud, so she could only stand up quickly, almost exposing herself, and pushed Jiang Wuyou twice. You? If your elder brother knew about this, wouldn't you be afraid? She got angry and left in a hurry. Jiang Wuyou looked at her leaving back and whistled with evil humor. Suddenly, he caught sight of a pair of eyes outside the room and hurriedly dodged away. He raised his eyebrows, as if these eyes were a little familiar. Chapter 7 Don't do this again. But he didn't say anything, pretending that he saw nothing, and left the study. When he went downstairs, he heard the servant say, Master, Miss Jiu just came to look for you, went upstairs, and said she couldn't find you, so she's waiting for you in the living room now. Hearing this, Jiang Wuyou understood who was outside the door just now. I laughed instantly. It turned out to be his fiancée. Interesting. Smiling, he came to the reception room and met Jiu Ruoshi. Ex-fiancée? What's wrong? Jiang Wuyou scratched his ears and leaned against the door, looking like an uneducated and uncultured dandy. I have to say, his ex-fiancée is really nice. Especially today's tight business suit. The white on the chest almost bursts the short white shirt, and the lace inside is faintly visible, as if it can arouse people's most primitive desires. Because Jiang Wuyou's eyes were too revealing, Jiu Ruoshi pulled her clothes back. Mr. Jiang, I came here today to thank you for your help yesterday. I want to treat you to a simple meal. She straightened her back, and even though she was expressing her gratitude, her tone was cold. If a beautiful lady invites me, I, Jiang Wuyou, will naturally be happy to do so. Let's go. He extended his hand cynically, making a gesture of invitation, with a cynical feeling. Jiang Wuyou nodded. She didn't know whether the decision she made was right or wrong. The look in the other person's eyes just now was unbridled and full of passion. It was as if he was going to strip off all his clothes. Acting cynical and ruffian-like. If I ask the other person out for dinner, I don't know if I will be walking into a tiger's mouth. However, when she thought of her own illness and some people in her family who wished she were dead, her eyes became fierce again. So she put on her high heels and followed Jiang Wuyou out the door. Is this your car? Looking at the Porsche at the door, Jiang Wuyou asked. Yes. Then get in the car. I'll be the driver of the beautiful CEO today. Where would you like to eat? Let's see along the way. Hold on tight. He laughed out loud, and the roar of the sports car exploded on the street. However, when the car was halfway there, Jiang Wuyou, who was originally relaxing, suddenly saw a black car following him closely. It has been following me all the way. When the car reached a tunnel, the black SUV suddenly accelerated and swerved towards their car. See this scene? Jiang Wuyou was not panicked, and then he bumped into him unexpectedly. Jiang Wuyou, who was sitting in the car, was so frightened that she screamed. What are you doing? Jiang Wuyou didn't answer and stepped on the accelerator to the bottom. The car was lifted up and then rolled and spun on the road. Jiang Wuyou felt a violent collision, then looked at the car that had crashed, her face turning pale. Jiang Wuyou, are you crazy? Jiang Wuyou patted her shoulder, comforted her, then opened the car door and walked down. He came to the overturned car and kicked open the door that was already in a state of disarray. Pull the injured man out of the car. Then, he stepped on it and twisted his foot. What are you doing? Why don't you save people? Jiang Wuyou stumbled over, she still hadn't figured out the situation. I feel like Jiang Wuyou is a lunatic. It hurts, stop stepping on it. The man grimaced in pain and cried out in agony. Tell me, who sent you? Jiang Wuyou asked coldly. You are crazy, you suddenly hit my car. The man cursed. But before he could finish his words, Jiang Wuyou violently pulled him up from the ground, held his head down and slammed it against the car window. Bang, bang, bang. The broken glass shards hit the man's face hard, and it instantly became bloody. The man finally felt the fear of death and said quickly. I'll tell you, the Jiang family sent me here. After hearing this, Jiang Wuyou, who originally thought Jiang Wuyou was crazy, turned pale. Then she thought of. What did he say? He smiled bitterly. It was a pity that she had misunderstood Jiang Wuyou. It turned out that he had saved her life again. Ex-fiancé, it seems like life isn't easy for a glamorous and beautiful CEO like you. Jiang Wuyou looked at her with a hint of joking. As a book lover, he naturally knew the tricks of the Jiang family. Those people would do anything for money and status. Jiang Wuyou lived in this kind of environment, and then met the male protagonist Chen of the original book. After being saved by him several times, she fell completely in love with him. But now, it belongs to him, Jiang Wuyou. Thinking of this, Jiang Wuyou almost laughed out loud. If there are any opportunities related to Chen in the future, then, don't blame him for taking them all. Thinking of this, he tightened his grip on the man's neck and sneered. The people sitting in the main seats of the Jiang family have started to change. Some people have started to have thoughts that they shouldn't have. Let me guess, the master behind you is Jiang Wuyou, the eldest son of the Jiang family, right? No, you are talking nonsense. Even though the man couldn't open his eyes, he quickly denied it. I don't even know what you're talking about. Hiss. I don't have many other hobbies. What I like most is to scald the duck's mouth with hot water. No matter how hard you try, it's useless. Jiang Wuyou chuckled, with a look of obvious mischief on his face. You don't like to talk about it, right? It doesn't matter, you'd better keep your mouth shut and don't say it. As he spoke, Jiang Wuyou casually took out a needle and pricked the man lightly. The man didn't react at all. What did you do to me? Jiang Wuyou took out a cushion from the car and sat down on it. He sat cross-legged and looked at the idiot who had peed his pants out of fear with amusement. Nothing. I only know some torture methods, but I haven't tried some of them. Having you here today really helped me a lot. He spoke words of gratitude, but his tone was frighteningly cold. Chapter 8 That Bastard. Jiang Wuyou was watching this guy from the side, her beautiful eyes becoming more and more confused. Under this dandy appearance of Jiang Wuyou, which one is the real him? He seems cynical, but his methods and character are so cold and cruel that they are a little scary. Boss Jiang, please, I was just doing this for money. I was wrong, I was really wrong. I won't do it again. I was blind and didn't recognize the real talent. I'm sorry. The man kowtowed again and again. Please, Mr. Jiu, I have seriously ill parents and a son in kindergarten at home. I really have nowhere else to turn. Please, I really have no other choice. The man kept crying. I want to live. I can't die yet. What will my son do without me? He was crying so hard that he was out of breath. At this time, Jiang Wuyou finally came forward. Let's go, Mr. Jiang. After all, Jiang Wuyou was not a cruel person. Seeing the man being tortured and crying for his parents, she still felt sympathy for him. Jiang Wuyou looked at her with amusement. Ex-fiancé, I did it for you, but I got into a car accident and I also helped you get justice. He is pitiful, so am I not pitiful. Seeing Jiang Wuyou being so shameless, that handsome and somewhat infuriating face slowly approached him. Jiang Wuyou was a little flustered and turned her face away. Jiang Wuyou looked at the man crying and shouting. Since Miss Jiu pleads for you, I can let you go this time, but you can't be ungrateful. You also know what happens to people who betray you. You say. The man just wanted to survive. After that, you will be Miss Gu's insider. Okay, I will. The man kowtowed so quickly that he almost fell to death on the ground. Go away. Jiang Wuyou smiled and looked at Jiang Wuyou. Equals let's go, get in the car and continue to enjoy our feast. As he said that, he grabbed the woman's waist. Jiang Wuyou was startled by his sudden action. She stepped back quickly, trying to break free. Bang. It's just that her movement was a little too big, and a tiny sound was heard. The buttons of the originally tight white shirt were completely unbuttoned. The white lace was completely exposed to the air, and the flesh-colored lace made people swallow their saliva. Jiang Wuyou was a little dumbfounded. TSK, I didn't expect there would be such a pleasant surprise. Ahem. He cleared his throat twice. Jiang Wuyou also realized that she could no longer hold back her cold expression. Her ears turned red quickly and she tightened her clothes. Jiang Wuyou rarely saw the cold beauty blushing, so he took off his coat and put it on Jiang Wuyou. At this time, Jiang Wuyou seemed to be trying to hide her embarrassment, or perhaps her mind was blank, and some words came out of her mouth. But the first word is a king bomb. I saw you and your sister-in-law in the study just now, you. As soon as she said this, she realized that her IQ seemed to have become negative and she said it. Unexpectedly, the shameless Jiang Wuyou didn't feel ashamed at all. What? Mr. Jiu, you actually like to peek. After being teased by Jiang Wuyou, Jiang Wuyou was at a loss. I just went over to look for you, and then I saw it. Well, my sister-in-law is playing a joke on me. As a joke? Like that. The scene she just saw flashed through Jiang Wuyou's mind, and she instantly felt goosebumps all over her body. Then he looked at Jiang Wuyou with obvious disbelief. Jiang Wuyou knew that the woman who could sit in the position of president of the Jiu family was naturally not a fool. However, he did not intend to let the other party believe it. If you don't believe it, then don't believe it. Let's get down to business. I remember your elder brother has been making some big moves recently. Some time ago, he approached me to discuss cooperation, saying that the Jiu family was also investing in a new film and television project recently. It is said that it will be a big IP and popular artists. This cooperation may bring a new turn for Gujiar. It seems that he is thinking about your position as president. Hearing Jiang Wuyou say this, Jiang Wuyou's face changed and her fingers clenched involuntarily. Jiang Wuyou watched her reaction quietly and continued to intensify his psychological offensive. Actually, you don't have to worry so much. As soon as Jiang Wuyou finished speaking, Jiang Wuyou spoke. Boss Jiang, could it be that you don't want to cooperate with my eldest brother? I'll naturally be happy to help whoever gives me more benefits. Money makes the world go round. If Miss Jiu can give me more, why would I cooperate with your brother? But didn't you just beat up the people my brother brought? That's because your brother is stupid. I think it must have happened yesterday. I helped you, and you came to me again. Your brother was worried about you, the beautiful CEO, and wanted to rekindle the relationship, so he tried to warn you and me, or. Jiang Wuyou stopped talking halfway. The meaning of the words is very clear. Hearing Jiang Wuyou say this, Jiu Ruoshi also laughed for the first time. Har har, my elder brother is really stupid. He never thought that Mr. Jiang, you are so. Anyway, thank you this time. As he spoke, his eyes were full of seriousness. Jiang Wuyou originally wanted to take advantage of the other party's verbal advantage, but when he saw the other party's serious eyes, his evil thoughts faded. Smiled. Since you are thanking me, please treat me to a nice meal. The two talked and got in the car. At this moment, Jiu Ruoshi's phone suddenly rang. It was her secretary calling. She picked up the phone. What's up? A voice came from the other end of the phone. Mr. Jiu, someone named Mr. Yi wants to see you. Your last name is Yi? Does Jiu Ruoshi recall whether there is such a person? I can't seem to remember who it is for a moment. Give him the phone. Yes. After a while, a male voice came from the other end of the phone. Hello, Miss Jiu, I'm Yi Chen. We met yesterday. I was worried about Miss Gu's health, so I came to see you today and help you check your chronic illness. On the other end of the phone, Yi Chen was smiling. He knew that this beautiful CEO was the future wife that his senior sister had carefully chosen for him. Chapter 9. Don't get me wrong. I saw her at dinner yesterday, and I felt agitated for a moment. If it weren't for that bastard Jiang Wuyou, I could have shown off my abilities in front of this beautiful female CEO. Early this morning, he came to their house specifically to restore his image and help the beautiful female president solve her health problems, so that he would have a chance to have sex with her. When Jiu Ruoshi heard that it was Yi Chen, she recalled the scene of yesterday and nodded without much emotion. Mr. Yi, you're welcome. I'm out with Mr. Jiang right now. I've made you run for nothing. I won't need you for now. If there's a chance in the future, I'll do it this way. Having said that, she hung up the phone. On the other end of the phone, Yi Chen had an ugly expression on his face and stood stiffly in place. It's Jiang Wuyou again. On the other hand, Yao Qinxue was so angry when she thought of the shameful scene that just happened in the study, but there was nothing she could do. Sister, where are you now? The person who called was Yi Chen. When Yao Qinxue heard his voice, her speech became softer. I just arrived at the company. What's wrong? I asked you to go find Miss Jiu. How is your work going? Something went wrong. Hearing Yi Chen's hesitant words, Yao Qinxue frowned instantly. What's wrong? Miss Jiu is not in the company. She went out to eat with that guy Jiang Wuyou. Yi Chen's voice was filled with suppressed anger. Yao Qinxue was shocked. What? That bastard again. Yao Qinxue's brows furrowed when she thought about how her plans had been ruined time and time again by this guy. Thinking of what this guy had done to him, he became even more furious. At this time, Yi Chen on the other end of the phone seemed to remember the computer file in the study last night, and he was a little suspicious. Then he said in a low voice. Sister, that boy is a typical ignorant person. Don't be fooled by him. Sister, I am doing this for your own good. Before Yi Chen could finish his words, Yao Qinxue became even more annoyed. How could she not know that the boy had bad intentions, but those videos were in his hands, and if she didn't deal with them, it would bring her a lot of trouble sooner or later. Xiao Chen, I know you're worried, don't worry. Jiang Wuyou is now a complete nuisance, and I must find a way to deal with this nuisance. Okay, senior sister, if you really encounter any trouble, just tell me directly. I see. Yao Qinxue hung up the phone directly and rubbed her sore brows. She picked up the office phone, adjusted her mindset, and asked her secretary to contact Jiang Wuyou. Soon, the secretary replied and said that she was having dinner with Jiu Ruoshi again. This time it's confirmed. The two were indeed together. On the other side, Jiang Wuyou and Jiu Ruoshi came to a Michelin restaurant. The two of them found a random seat and sat down. Then Jiu Ruoshi said she wanted to go to the bathroom. Jiang Wuyou was just about to order when he saw a woman with heavy makeup and revealing clothes walking towards him. There is basically no difference between wearing that outfit and not wearing it. The bra was wrapped tightly, and the panties were so short that they barely made any difference. Not only that, he was also accompanied by a muscular man with his upper body exposed. The two of them are a perfect match together. Full of primitive wildness. Hey, isn't this young Master Jiang? But suddenly, this exposed woman saw Jiang Wuyou and was a little surprised. Jiang Wuyou couldn't help but frown. He recalled in his mind whether he knew this person, and then it suddenly occurred to him. This scantily clad woman was none other than his ex-girlfriend. Logically speaking, seeing your ex-girlfriend shouldn't be a shocking experience. But after looking it up and down, I felt that the original owner's vision was extremely poor. But I have to say that this woman's figure is really first-rate. What should be big, what should be upturned should be upturned. To sum it up in 4 words, it's big breasts and wide buttocks. Any normal man would drool upon seeing it. It's a pity that these big breasts are so fake. He tried it, but it felt terrible. Long time no see, Jiang Xiao, why don't we have a drink together? The charming woman twisted her waist, picked up a glass of wine and came to Jiang Wuyou. Out of physiological disgust, Jiang Wuyou couldn't help but move to the side twice. Naturally, the ex-girlfriend was not willing to be outdone. She deliberately pulled her chest inward, and the sexy red outfit made her curves even more perfect. Master Jiang, it would be boring for you to come here alone today. Why don't you let me stay here and keep you company? As she spoke, she pressed her breasts hard against Jiang Wuyou and rubbed them. I heard that your Jiang family has had a lot of problems recently. But don't worry, I'm here to help you through this difficult time. Jiang Wuyou actually heard this with a hint of irony. What's the difference between this and you can rest assured that I am here and I will definitely spend all your money? If he remembered correctly in the original book, this ex-girlfriend was probably just a passerby, without even a name. It just so happened that Jiu Ruoshi went to the bathroom to touch up her makeup, so luckily she was not here. If they had bumped into each other, he would have misunderstood. Jiu Ruoshi was one of the targets he was going to clear next, and he didn't want to cause himself a lot of trouble because of these problems. I have nothing to do, you guys go. Jiang Wuyou's face already looked a little unhappy. But those two people obviously didn't know what was going on, and they moved forward one by one. The ex-girlfriend even took the initiative to move her body slightly closer to Jiang Wuyou, and his elbow touched her soft chest intentionally or unintentionally. In an instant, Jiang Wuyou felt as if he was high. What are you doing? Jiu Ruoshi wiped her hands and walked over and saw this scene. Anyone who sees this scene will think it's a bit too much. Don't get me wrong. Jiang Wuyou subconsciously prepared to explain. I'm his ex-girlfriend, who are you? Chapter 10 Tug of War. When the busty woman saw Jiu Ruoshi, she raised her eyebrows and said unhappily, as if she saw some kind of natural enemy. My name is Jiu Ruoshi, the current president of Jiu Family Group, and Mr. Jiang's current girlfriend. She has a beautiful appearance and a great figure. Just this gentle voice and beautiful figure are enough to make many people stay away. What's more, she revealed her identity as the president of Jiu Family Group. After hearing this, the busty girl compared the two of them and couldn't help but feel a little frustrated. She stood up and spoke unhappily. When Master Jiang and I were together, you didn't even know where you were. Although we broke up, our relationship is still there. First come, first served, do you understand? As proud as she was, she pushed her big breasts towards Jiu Ruoshi as if to show off. Who would have thought that the muscular man couldn't help but roll his eyes? Just you, forget it. The backstab by a male best friend is the most deadly. Then, this muscular man actually raised his orchid finger and said in a delicate voice. Beautiful lady, for such a philandering man, I advise you to just change him. Why not hang yourself on a tree? I have so many good-looking friends around me. Why don't we add each other on WeChat and you tell me what your skincare secret is? Jiu Ruoshi felt nauseous when she saw him like this, and her whole body was covered with goosebumps. It's not that he hated this kind of people, but their sudden approach to him made Jiu Ruoshi feel physically uncomfortable. No need, Mr. Jiang is very good. He is very nice to me in every aspect. Girls should always have some self-awareness. They should do things according to their own status and position. Don't always act like a headless fly and hang on to whoever you catch. You. The busty girl was a little angry and embarrassed. But when he thought about the other party's identity, he could not beat her in a fight, nor in terms of figure and appearance, so he could only glare at Jiu Ruoshi unwillingly. Just wait and see. Having said that, she pulled the muscular man who could lift his index finger out of the restaurant. After the two left, Jiang Wuyou let out a long sigh of relief, returned to her usual expression, and sat down opposite Jiang Wuyou. She had never tried this kind of scene before. She hadn't even thought that she would be like this. Thinking back on it now, it's so embarrassing. Thank you, Miss Jiang, for what I said just now. Jiang Wuyou casually poured a glass of water and placed it in front of Jiang Wuyou. He said with a smile. It seems that you are a little different from what I imagined. Why is it different? You usually look so aloof, but just now you were acting and it was quite interesting. I didn't expect you to have such a side, har har. When Jiang Wuyou heard this, her expression became a little unnatural. It was indeed embarrassing just now. He actually pretended to be the other person's girlfriend. Although the two were engaged, the circumstances were different. Can I ask you a question? Jiang Wuyou suddenly spoke. If just asking questions seems a bit boring, why don't we change it? As soon as Jiang Wuyou finished speaking, he asked the waiter to bring a bottle of fine red wine. What question do you want to ask? How about this, you ask the question, if I can answer it you drink, if I can't answer it I drink, how about that? Jiang Wuyou did not reject this proposal. Okay, no problem. Then Jiang Wuyou poured 2 glasses of wine and placed one in front of Jiang Wuyou. How much money do you plan to invest in the big IP your group is investing in this time? This is a trade secret, why should I tell you? After saying that, he immediately realized that this was a little trap set by this woman. He smiled, swirled the wine glass easily and drank it all. You care about this investment? Can I keep my seat as the president of the Jiang family? It all depends on whether you, Mr. Jiang, can show mercy. It's not impossible to tell you. As soon as Jiang Wuyou finished speaking, his eyes widened instantly and he looked at Jiang Wuyou curiously. What do you want? Of course it's a beautiful lady accompanying you for drinks. Let's go together. As soon as Jiang Wuyou finished speaking, Jiang Wuyou picked up the wine glass and drank it all without thinking. Actually, I am only interested in investing in this project at the moment, but the specific amount of money I can invest depends on how sincere the Jiang family is. I can cooperate with anyone. If Miss Jiang can give me more benefits, I will naturally be willing to cooperate with Miss Jiang. For our two families, this plan can only be a matter of who earns more and who earns less. I can take less, but I have to keep this position. If Master Jiang is willing to lend me a hand, I am willing to cooperate with you. The two seem to be playing straight, but in fact they are engaged in a tug-of-war with each other intentionally or unintentionally. Aren't you curious about how much your brother is going to give me? It's a trade secret, especially since he can't think of anything better, but I'm different. I'm the CEO of the Jiang family now, which means I know better than him how much I can get from this project. If you cooperate with him, he may not be able to fulfill his promise, but if you cooperate with me, I will definitely do what I say. It's really worry-free to chat with a smart woman. The language logic of this beautiful CEO also made him look at her with new eyes. You are very clever. Mr. Jiang is not bad either, otherwise how could the content of our conversation today not be backed up? Jiang Wuyou smiled and glanced at the pen in Jiang Wuyou's pocket. Instead, Jiang Wuyou took it down and opened it, revealing an expensive pen inside, or just a pen. I don't like to do the things I just pressed. It's more interesting to be blatant. What's more, Mr. Jiang is not as honest as I thought. Cooperating with Miss Jiang may bring greater benefits to me and my company. After saying this, Jiang Wuyou's face showed obvious joy, but Jiang Wuyou's attitude suddenly changed. But Miss Gu's lack of trust in me may cause a lot of trouble between the two of us. Chapter 11 Sister-in-law is worthy of being sister-in-law. Although Jiang Wuyou was unwilling, she decided to drink it all for the Jiang family. She drank 3 cups in a row to express her apology. 50 million investment, plus we will decide the male and female protagonists. When Jiang Wuyou heard Jiang Wuyou say this, her eyes widened. If she were to use such an investment, she would have basically no chance of winning. So what are you going to do next? How much do you need? Jiang Wuyou said nothing, just looked at the wine glass in front of him with a smile. Jiang Wuyou drank another glass in succession. To be honest, this little money is not that tempting to me. I just think this industry is interesting and I want to give it a try. I will also invest 50 million, and you can decide who will be the male and female lead, but I can sign a bet with you on the total profit. Jiang Wuyou has always believed in gamblers, and gamblers will win everything in the end. What's more, she is very optimistic about this project and always believes that it will win. Who would have thought that she was so proud? In Jiang Wuyou's view, he just shook his head silently. I don't care about these things. I just told you that it doesn't matter to me whether this project can make money or how much money it can make. He smiled gently and slowly approached Jiang Wuyou, their lips getting closer and closer. It was clearly a Western restaurant that was elegant yet full of ambiguity. Instead, there was no commercial feeling between the two of them, but a hint of passion. Especially Jiang Wuyou, because she drank some wine, the blush on her face was obviously very tempting. The vague ravine appeared in front of Jiang Wuyou's eyes, as if saying welcome to him. Such a beautiful woman is indeed hard to resist, not to mention her intelligence and his status and power. They will all make people feel unforgettable. It's a pity that such a beautiful girl has never thought about eating out alone with a man, which is such an unsafe thing. I don't want it. She immediately pushed away the somewhat relaxed expression on Jiang Wuyou's face, which immediately turned into alertness. If she had regarded Jiang Wuyou as a gentleman before, now in her eyes, Jiang Wuyou was just a scoundrel who was ready to act like a hooligan at any time. No. No what? Jiang Wuyou suddenly wiped the wine stains off her cheek, smiled slightly, and kept a safe distance from her. Jiang Wuyou blushed and her heart beat fast because of his small action, and she even had a feeling that this was what those people called the taste of love. I'm saying I'm not that kind of woman. Stay away from me and don't get so close to me. Jiang Wuyou spoke a little stutteringly, but her head was almost buried under the table. She looked so pitiful, coupled with her big watery eyes. Jiang Wuyou looked at her with some amusement. Jiang Wuyou was so confused by the teasing that she could only sit there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. I have something else to do. I'll leave first. After saying that, Jiang Wuyou left without looking back. But Jiang Wuyou did not stop him. After all, there was still a long time to go. Jiang Wuyou smiled somewhat maliciously, supporting his chin with one hand and looking in the direction where Jiang Wuyou left with the other. This woman was really interesting, much more interesting than he had imagined. When he turned around, he saw a plump woman standing at the door. Just by looking at the silhouette of her figure, he felt that she was the woman he longed for. Look, there are still people who can't hold back any longer. At this time, Yao Qinshui was standing at the door. After asking around, she finally found out that Jiang Wuyou came here just to have dinner with that damn girl Jiang Wuyou. Sister-in-law, why are you here? He smiled faintly, seemingly docile, but in fact his smile did not express his true meaning, especially the strange curve of his mouth, which made people feel that he was a gangster with bad intentions. My junior brother just came down from the mountain, and some things he did were not very good, but we are also a family. These days, it feels a bit strange that we live together, so I thought of asking you to come home and have a meal together. You see, I'm full now. Jiang Wuyou spread his hands in embarrassment. With my ex-fiancée. As soon as he finished speaking, Yao Qinshui felt that there was something else behind his words. After all, it was she who ruined Jiang Wuyou's marriage, so it would be a lie to say that she didn't feel guilty. Miss Jiu is a well-educated and well-mannered person, but you should control your temper. Otherwise, the Jiu family would not have cancelled the engagement with you directly. Look, my sister-in-law said that I hadn't had enough fun yet, and she told me she wanted to get married. It's a good thing that the marriage is cancelled. Jiang Wuyou smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. The two seemed to be talking at the door of the coffee shop, but undercurrents were surging, and every word they said revealed the other's little thoughts. Things in the company. Don't bother your sister-in-law to worry about it. Just live your life well. I'm here to take care of the company. As he said this, he turned the car keys in his hand and prepared to leave. Since he had drunk some alcohol, he had to abide by the law and called a designated driver in advance. He only sat in the passenger seat and rested. Jiang Wuyou is really a playboy. He just sent one away and another one came. It turned out that the muscular man and his ex-girlfriend were walking over arm in arm. Just now in the coffee shop, they were almost embarrassed, they were both unable to get the love they wanted. Now they found that Jiang Wuyou was surrounded by beautiful women. Others had opportunities, but they didn't get a chance. No matter how you think about it, it feels embarrassing. Who are you? Yao Qinshue had seen the world, and she knew that these two people coming up to her were just looking for money. Who are you? Do you know that Jiang Wuyou is mine? You want to snatch my man away? Yao Qinshue sighed and moved her wrist. Today, she had to beg Jiang Wuyou to come home for dinner to ease the relationship between them. It can be said that she lost face and her mood was extremely bad. Now, someone comes to her doorstep to vent her anger, and she naturally let him go. Jiang Wuyou, who had finally waited for the designated driver to leave, saw Yao Qinshue coming up and slapping the two men in the face. Wow. He had long known that his nominal sister-in-law was indeed quite powerful, but he had never imagined that she was so tough. The action can be said to be clean and neat, leaving no room for the other party to look back. In a matter of seconds, the two arrogant men were forced to kneel on the ground. Let us not talk about the internet celebrity who had a snake-like face after plastic surgery and looked pitiful with red eyes. Even that seemingly strong and muscular man, a typical little zero, could only beg for mercy innocently after Yao Qinshue's quick and decisive actions. Remember to get out of here quickly. I will beat you up every time I see you. Get out of here. Yao Qinshue kicked the two men on the buttocks. The internet celebrity beauty almost exposed herself and could only pull her bra that was about to fall off and hug the muscular man and ran away quickly. Chapter 12 Fourth Senior Sister. Hello. Jiang Wuyou got out of the car curiously and called out beside the door. But, no matter how awesome a person is, he can't beat the bad luck that can make even drinking water get stuck in his teeth. Yao Qinshue was wearing high heels, and the road was slippery due to the rain. One of them lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground, hitting his head against the wall. She fainted instantly, and Jiang Wuyou was also stunned. Damn, is this woman pretending? The loud noise he heard just as he walked forward instantly sobered him up completely. He thought about it and asked the designated driver to drive the car directly back to his villa. He then carried Yao Qinshue to a nearby hotel. If he was admitted to the hospital for such an embarrassing reason and was photographed by reporters, it would probably be a big story. So Jiang Wuyou simply sent her directly to their hotel, asked for some ice, and applied cold compresses to reduce the swelling. Why are you so stupid? Jiang Wuyou couldn't help but complain. Not long after, Yao Qinshue slowly woke up. Because I hit my head, there is a bump on my forehead. Because she came here to see Jiang Wuyou at the last minute, she was still wearing a tight business suit. The red pencil skirt is paired with a white chiffon shirt. The faintly visible black underwear, under the catalysis of the strange fragrance in the whole room, made Yao Qinshue look extremely beautiful and charming to him at this moment. But it's true. Even without the catalysis of those aromas, anyone who saw Yao Qinshue's face would swallow their saliva. She is bright and charming, and looks just like a lovable rose. If one word is used to describe Yao Qinshue, it would be the red rose in the eyes of most men. What are you doing? As soon as Yao Qinshue woke up, she hugged the quilt tightly and curled herself up at the head of the bed. He is indeed a bit erratic at ordinary times. After all, I am his sister-in-law in name only. How could he send her directly to their hotel? What can I do? Of course I'm here to take good care of my sister-in-law. Jiang Wuyou curled the corner of his mouth with amusement, raised his eyebrows and looked at Yao Qinshue. Her self-protective behavior made Jiang Wuyou laugh. I am your sister-in-law. I know. Jiang Wuyou's calm tone made Yao Qinshue feel that what he said was unpleasant to the ear. Then can you take me to a place like this? I brought you to my own hotel just to have a good rest. Is there any problem? After Jiang Wuyou said this, Yao Qinshue realized that she had misunderstood. Her cheeks flushed and she buried herself in the quilt. She was originally so proud, but now she could only blush with shame. Yao Qinshue paused, then quickly got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom. On the other side, Chen waited for Yao Qinshue and Jiang Wuyou in the villa for a long time, but there was no movement. Yao Qinshue is his most trusted senior sister. Without his senior sister, he wouldn't be where he is today. So he cared about his senior sister's safety more than anyone else, but his senior sister had been gone for so long and had not returned yet, so he was naturally worried. I checked the phone location again, and finally found that it was located at the hotel. A bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. My beloved senior sister, where are you? Are you okay? Did he do something to you? A series of questions were asked into the phone. On the other end of the phone, Jiang Wuyou was leaning back on the sofa, looking contented. Nothing, just took a nap in the hotel. There was nothing wrong with what he said. After all, Yao Qinshua did hit his head and fell asleep, so it was normal to bring him to the hotel to rest. You? What on earth did you do to my senior sister, you bastard? Talking on the phone, Chen could only feel helpless and furious but was totally helpless. Why do you want to try it? Why don't you come and take a look too? All I can say is that Jiang Wuyou's ability to make people angry is getting stronger and stronger. To Chen, these words sounded like either provocation or torture. His senior sister has a thin waist, soft legs and bright appearance. The perfect career woman. How come it's being tortured in Jiang Wuyou's hands now? You'd better make sure that my senior sister doesn't have any problems. Send me the address and I'll go pick up my senior sister. Within 15 minutes of waiting, someone knocked on the door angrily. Yao Qinshua, who was hiding in the bathroom, refused to come out. She didn't want to be seen by others. She and that bastard Jiang Wuyou went out to check into a hotel. Who is it? It's not good to be so violent every day. As soon as he finished speaking, his fist was about to hit him in the face. Fortunately, he was smart enough to dodge and avoid the fist attack. Only a medium-sized hole was left on the wall. Fortunately, he dodged quickly. If the fist had hit his abominable face directly, he would have been disfigured for more than half a month. Then Chen came out from behind the owner of the fist, pointed at Jiang Wuyou angrily and started to yell. You bastard, what did you do to my sister? Let my sister come out. We kindly asked you to go home for dinner, but you took advantage of her misfortune and lured my sister to this place. When Jiang Wuyou heard this, he laughed instead of getting angry. Go home for dinner. No matter what, it's my home. What does it have to do with you? My sister-in-law invited me to dinner, whether it's in this hotel or at home, it's what I want. I can do whatever I want. But you, an outsider, come to my home for dinner and you have to come to me to settle the bill. It's quite funny to say, he just relies on the halo of the protagonist to act arrogantly here. In the real world, this bastard would probably be beaten up as soon as he opens his mouth, right? Okay, stop talking. Only then did Jiang Wuyou notice the owner of the fist. She was wearing a sports suit, but it couldn't hide her extremely proud figure. Her slender legs were exposed to the air, especially her perfect muscle lines, which made people drool. Look at his waist on the internet, which is so slender that it can be held in one hand. The abdominal muscles are clearly visible under the sports bar. Just going up, the good thing about this beauty is that she has a nice figure, the bad thing is that she has a pair of ass. Seeing Jiang Wuyou admiring his own figure so seriously, the owner of the fist was not polite at all and continued to punch him. Jiang Wuyou dodged instead. This woman does leave some impression. Murong Xiaoxiao is Chen's fourth senior sister. She is famous for her iron fist. Wherever her fist hits, a hole will be left. He is a bit straightforward. To put it nicely, he is upright, but to put it bluntly, he doesn't know how to adapt. But she herself has a pretty and cold face. It's our first meeting, my beautiful lady. I don't know how I have offended you to allow you to do this to me. It makes no difference whether Jiang Wuyou said it or not. In any case, to Murong Xiaoxiao's ears, all he said were disgusting remarks teasing her. Chapter 13 Blushing Heartbeat. Fourth sister, don't listen to this pervert's lies. He just wants to confuse the eldest sister. Chen stood behind Murong Xiaoxiao and kept talking, and his little mouth never thought of stopping. Jiang Wuyou knew that he was no match for Murong Xiaoxiao, so he naturally wouldn't confront her head-on. Murong Xiaoxiao's ability is particularly outstanding among Chen's 7 senior sisters. Even Yao Qinshua had to be polite when she saw him. After all, there must be majesty behind an iron fist. With Chen fanning the flames beside her, Murong Xiaoxiao's fists almost never stopped, punching at Jiang Wuyou again and again. The fist was only a hair's breadth away from his face. Jiang Wuyou raised his hand. Using the principle of Tai Chi, which is to overcome hardness with softness, he gave her a gentle push and at the same time quickly grabbed her wrist, applying a little force. He simply turned Murong Xiaoxiao over and pressed her to the ground. Maybe it was because the movements were too smooth. Their faces were so close that there seemed to be only a hair's breadth between their lips. Jiang Wuyou reflexively pressed his hand on her softest spot and only used his arms to support the floor to prevent the two of them from hugging each other directly. Who is Murong Xiaoxiao? She is a person like Nun Mi who basically doesn't like men. Over the years, the only two men they could get along with on the mountain were their master and Yi Chen. Now that I have just come down the mountain, I wanted to seek refuge with my junior fellow apprentice. Senior sister. Now, the senior sister hasn't been brought home yet, but Jiang Wuyou has taken advantage of her. You rascal, bastard. If Murong Xiaoxiao could still fight with Jiang Wuyou with a cold face just now, her face is now flushed. She doesn't look like she's here to fight at all, instead she looks a little bit like a young girl in love. Look at this, such a pretty face that was always so cold, but now it's a little rosy, which makes people feel rare. Jiang Wuyou took the opportunity to touch her delicate face. Because she was pressed down, Murong Xiaoxiao wanted to take action but was helpless, her legs were tightly clamped. If Jiang Wuyou really wanted to do something to her, she would regret it. Let me go, you bastard. What do you want to do? Yes. He said this in a disgusting tone, causing Murong Xiaoxiao to tremble with even greater fear. Let me go, don't press me. Murong Xiaoxiao almost revealed a hint of crying in her throat. Wuyou, stop making trouble. Also, Xiaoxiao, don't fight with him. Only then did Yao Qinxue recover. The pain in my head was instantly turned on by the noisy fighting between the two. They both looked at Yao Qinxue at the same time, and saw her tidying up her clothes and slowly walking towards them. For the sake of my senior sister and my junior brother, I will not fight with you this time. If you do this again next time, don't blame me for crippling your hands and digging out your eyes. Since he had already taken advantage, Jiang Wuyou naturally would not make things difficult for them anymore. He got up from Murong Xiaoxiao's body and let go of her hand. Instead, Murong Xiaoxiao leaned against Yi Chen with her eyes rolled up and looked angry. No wonder my junior fellow apprentice said that Jiang Wuyou was a complete bastard and a complete lunatic. Things are not what you think. I went to the coffee shop, but I didn't meet Jiang Wuyou. Instead, I met two stupid people. He helped me, but he was injured and I fainted. Yao Qinxue said with a blush. In fact, Yi Chen and Murong Xiaoxiao looked completely unconvinced at first glance. After all, with their senior sister's ability, how could she be injured and faint from fighting with others? This is simply a fantasy. When Yao Qinxue saw that they both looked obviously disbelieving, she lifted her hair and, sure enough, a big red and swollen bump came into view. Murong Xiaoxiao's face was filled with shock. Her senior sister was such a powerful person. As the second heir to the Jiang family after Jiang Wuyou. She is rich, good-looking, and the most important thing is that her kung fu skills are among the best. Even if she encounters a gangster, she has a way to fight him easily. How could it be possible that Jiang Wuyou got the advantage? Yao Qinxue frowned and her face turned slightly red. My fourth sister is usually a little impulsive, and she rarely comes down from the mountain, so she doesn't understand the ways of the world. It was him who did it this time. It's wrong. I apologize to you on her behalf. We are all family, so don't make things so awkward. Yao Qinxue bowed slightly. Before the property is completely in her hands, she cannot let her relationship with Jiang Wuyou become strained. It's okay. Jiang Wuyou was all smiles. Under Yao Qinxue's forced request, Murong Xiaoxiao pouted her lips and bowed slightly. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I attacked you without knowing the truth. Just pretend it never happened. I'm really sorry. Yao Qinxue looked into Jiang Wuyou's clear eyes and recalled that passionate scene. Even though she has been involved in the love field for many years, countless men have fallen at her feet. Now that she has met Jiang Wuyou, she feels like a pure and innocent girl. Come on, senior sister. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup. You can't keep having this bump on your head forever. Having said that, Murong Xiaoxiao and Yi Chen quickly took Yao Qinxue away. Several people were sitting in the car, and Murong Xiaoxiao looked at Yao Qinxue unhappily. I just don't understand, what kind of ability can this brat have? Why are you so afraid of him? He is Jiang Wuyou. I thought he was a fool, but I didn't expect that he has become smart in the past few days and speaks in an orderly manner. Yao Qinxue sneered. She didn't expect that this prodigal son would now speak and behave like a human being. This prodigal son is not even half as smart as our junior brother. This group of directors is really something. Now that the company is handed over to him, he might squander all the family assets. Now he wants to invest in the film and television industry. Sooner or later, this company will be squandered by him without a penny left. Murong Xiaoxiao was also a vengeful person. When she thought about the close contact between Jiang Wuyou and her just now, and how her body, which had been kept as pure as a jade since childhood, was actually touched by that second-generation rich man. She even had the urge to cut off her own flesh. Seeing her disgusted expression, Yao Qinshua comforted her instead. This guy doesn't seem as simple as we think. He may be much smarter and more powerful than we thought. Murong Xiaoxiao pouted. I don't believe it. If he really had good character, understood the ways of the world, and had good intentions, he wouldn't have hurt you and taken you to a hotel instead of sending you to the hospital. Chapter 14, Testing. Jiang Wuyou felt itchy when he walked out of the hotel. Really, if I had known I wouldn't have let Yao Qinshua go back. Thinking back to how close the two of them were just now, if it had been a little later, maybe he could have gotten to know her. When I think of Yao Qinshua's beautiful figure and her faint softness just now. Or maybe his brother really eats too well on weekdays. If this kind of character was placed next to him, he would never have been able to get to this point. Handsome boy, why don't we go have a drink together? He had just walked downstairs and lit a cigarette when a heavily made-up woman approached him. The woman was wearing a black mesh dress that was almost transparent. Or it could be said that men have almost no resistance to black stockings. Those long legs are so thin and straight that people drool at the sight of them. Especially her huge hemisphere, the faint bulge is clearly visible. Even when she leaned slightly closer and rubbed the softness of his arm, it made him drool. It's a pity that the meal just now was so delicious that such a woman seemed a little cheap. Even though this woman's face was so beautiful, with exquisite makeup and the scent of perfume full of hormones. Instead it seems too cheap. The woman's hands were not at ease either. One hand was around his waist, and the other hand was stroking his abdominal muscles along his abdomen, slowly moving down. Handsome boy, since you are so good looking, I promise you will be satisfied with the service this time, and it will be free of charge. She spoke softly in his ear, blowing air into his ear intentionally or unintentionally, and a tingling feeling spread throughout his body. But this woman who came to his door made him feel speechless. What kind of beauties have you not seen in your daily life? Whether they are huge, thin-waisted, long-legged, or cute and playful. Basically everything. He had seen too many of them, and this kind of rustic and vulgar woman actually made him feel a little disgusted. I took a taxi and went straight back to the villa. But as soon as I entered the house, I could still feel my burning desire. Damn. My sister-in-law is so attractive. So addictive. At the same time, Yao Qinshua, who had returned home from the hospital, leaned against the bedroom and finally calmed down her junior brothers and sisters. After taking a comfortable bath, she lay on the bed, with her beautiful figure covered in seductive pajamas that looked like a translucent gauze. A light breeze blew in from the window, swaying her skirt. The phone rang and rang. Qinshua, I have been getting closer to Jiang Wuyou these past few days, and I feel like he is a little different from what was rumored. Jiu Ruoshi thought about it at home and decided to have dinner with Jiang Wuyou today. Whether it was his elegant conversation when they were having a meal together, or his somewhat humorous language when they were talking. Instead, it left a deep impression on Jiu Ruoshi. This guy is not as simple as you think. His elder brother is in the hospital now, and there are many people in the family fighting for the family property. He is just acting for you now, but if he is really engaged, who knows what he is thinking behind the scenes. When I think of the two of them in the hotel, how close and entangled they were. Yao Qinshua just felt her face turn red. After all, she was an upright young woman with a good figure and face, but the man happened to be admitted to the ICU. No matter how I think about it, I feel hot all over. Well, it seems that he should give it a try. Maybe it's because his eldest brother is in the hospital and the whole family needs to rely on him alone, so he is like this. Jiu Ruoshi was naive and tried hard to make amends for Jiang Wuyou. Yao Qinshua chatted with her for a while and then hung up the phone. Then he directly dialed Murong Xiaoxiao's contact number. Senior sister, what's wrong? Nothing. When is your second sister free? Why don't you ask her to come down with you? Her tone seemed to be asking, but with a hint of certainty. The second sister Liang Ru, although her name contains the word Ru, is an arrogant and domineering devil. I remember when I was in the mountains, I caused a lot of trouble for my master because I was too naughty. In addition, Liang Ru's family was one of the most wealthy families, and Liang Ru was sent to the mountain in the hope that she could learn a skill to protect herself. Who would have thought that Liang Ru was unwilling to go down the mountain, and even more unwilling to accept the things happening at home? Good. Murong thought about it carefully and nodded. My second sister's family has some skills that might be able to help us a lot. Yao Qinshua wanted to say something else, but she heard some noise outside. She hung up the phone in a hurry and opened the door without thinking. Jiang Wuyou was seen leaning against the door frame with his arms folded across his chest, holding a nourishing dessert in his hand. But the moment he saw Yao Qinshua coming out, he looked her up and down and a faint smile appeared on his face. Sister-in-law, do you want to be so explosive every time you appear? Every time you make me, TSK, look at you with new eyes. He whistled. At this moment, Yao Qinshua's silk lace nightgown was almost translucent, and she had just taken a shower, so there were wet water marks on her body. The spring scenery that could not be concealed in the first place now outlines her perfect curves, basically revealing everything, which makes people feel excited. He swore that if he continued to look at it like this, he would probably have a nosebleed. Asshole! Why didn't you knock? Sister-in-law, am I not planning to come in? So you just wanted to eavesdrop at the door, to eavesdrop on my phone call. Yao Qinshua's words were somewhat harsh. This bastard doesn't do his job properly, but has learned how to steal other people's girls. It's nothing, I just wanted to come in and show some concern, to see how your injury is, sister-in-law. Thanks to you, I feel better now, thanks to you. Hey, you're welcome. Sister-in-law, this is what I should do. After all, we are family. He deliberately emphasized the word family, and in Yao Qinshua's ears, she heard a hint of alternative ridicule. You? Should I say this, sister-in-law? I heard that you are planning to invest in real estate. I heard that your cousin is very knowledgeable in this area. I wonder if you can give me some advice. How is this investment going? This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Speaking of family property and work, Yao Qinshua's expression immediately returned to normal. She tightened her clothes casually, trying her best to conceal her beauty. It's nothing. I just vaguely remember that Liang Ru's family seems to be the largest real estate developer in the entire city. The projects between them and the government are closely connected. No wonder the Liang family is so wealthy. I wonder if they can help with this project. He thought thoughtfully as he spoke. Chapter 15, Thinking. Yao Qinshua's eyes widened. Who is Liang Ru? Not to mention that her family is extremely wealthy, her identity is almost a secret in the entire city. Everyone only knew that the Liang family had a favorite little daughter, but because of her special status, no one knew what she looked like, what she did, and what her personality was like. Even if someone wanted to rush to the Liang family to give gifts and seek favors, they would have no way of knowing Liang Ru's true information behind the scenes. So when Jiang Wuyou was able to accurately tell Liang Ru's basic information and the secret of his identity, she was almost shocked. How do you know that? Yao Qinshuo calmed down. Instead of guessing what kind of power was behind Jiang Wuyou, she decided to just ask. Seeing the look of horror on Yao Qinshua's beautiful face, there was even fear in her eyes. Jiang Wuyou's heart was in turmoil. Especially her extremely surprised face, which made him feel secretly happy. He cleared his throat and gave a pretentious smirk. Sister-in-law, if you don't want others to know, then don't do it. It's not good to be surprised. I may know more than you think. He smirked slightly, as if something had suddenly occurred to him, and held out his finger. Speaking of this, I seem to have almost forgotten that Liang Ru can be regarded as the illegitimate daughter of the Liang family. Although she is the most favored, she has no real say in the Liang family. Now she is still free on the mountain. On the surface, she is the little princess of the Liang family, but in fact, she is just a canary that has been sent away. His words shocked Yao Qinshuo even more. Her heartbeat unconsciously quickened in fear, and she stepped back slightly in disbelief. Her hands, which had been tightly clenching her clothes, suddenly loosened, revealing the beauty of her chest. Although she knew that Liang Ru didn't like to go home and seemed to have a bad relationship with her family. But the Liang family always responded to Liang Ru's requests, so in her opinion, the Liang family still doted on her very much. If everything was really as Jiang Wuyou said, then everything she had been curious about in the past would be solved. This is why Liang Ru was reluctant to go down the mountain, and even more reluctant to go home. When the Liang family was mentioned, her face was full of disgust. She originally thought that the Liang family was just a child who ran away from home and didn't know anything, but now it seems that she has to look into it more carefully. Seeing Yao Qinshue standing there at a loss, with neither intention of going back to their house nor the desire to continue the conversation with him. Sister-in-law seems to be troubled by something, so I won't disturb her rest and will leave first. I have said what I need to say, and it can be regarded as a reminder for Yao Qinshue to avoid using these little tricks behind her back as much as possible. If I knew about it, I would be in big trouble. It's a small threat and also a small reminder. Of course Jiang Wuyou is not a fool. After all, there is a direct interest connection between him and Yao Qinshue. In the company, the two of them each have their own responsibilities and manage different departments, so they can be considered to be on equal footing. However, the two forces in the company are also engaged in fierce internal fighting. Chen also took the opportunity to join the company and started working. After all, Yao Qinshue was really good to him. Therefore, the key projects that could produce results were all handed over to Chen. Senior sister, is Miss Jiu free tonight? Can you invite her out for dinner? Chen looked at Yao Qinshue with a slightly shy expression. Yao Qinshue put a lot of effort into this junior fellow student who she grew up with. This is like being his own brother. You should do your job well first, why bother to be obsessed with those women? Once you have done your job well, you can get any woman you want. Hearing what Yao Qinshue said, Chen curled his lips unconsciously. Anything good is not as good as moonlight. You have to know that the white moonlight that you can't get is much more beautiful than the mosquito blood on the wall. Hearing Chen's metaphor, Yao Qinshue couldn't help but smile, as if she were a little boy's first love. Just as the two were still chatting, a special doctor knocked on the door and walked in. I've been invited here specifically to treat you. What's the point of seeing a doctor? I'm in good health. Nothing's wrong with me. Please go now. Yao Qinshue frowned unhappily. She has always hated people who came over and made decisions about all matters in her life without even asking. What's more, she didn't even call a doctor to see her. Chen found something wrong and pulled the attending doctor directly to the door. After talking for a while, Chen walked in with a smile. The moment he saw his senior sister, the smile on his face instantly disappeared. What? Who invited that person just now? The person Jiang Wuyou called. R. Yao Qinshue's face was full of black lines. She had thought of countless possibilities, and countless people might have asked her to ask a doctor to check the wound on her forehead. She never dreamed that this person would be Jiang Wuyou. There are many people in the company watching her now. If anything goes wrong with her body, she guarantees that these people who were supporting her invincibility the previous second will instantly rush to Jiang Wuyou's side the next second. Or they are fence-sitters who can change the direction of the wind at the slightest disturbance. Senior sister, don't worry, I have called the people back. After hearing what Chen said, Yao Qinshue breathed a sigh of relief. I'm telling you, this guy is not as simple as you think. His brother was able to get to where he is today, even though he entered ICU, but a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. There are many people supporting him now. In addition, he is arrogant and domineering. Now he has invited a doctor to come and treat me. If outsiders misunderstand his meaning, I'm afraid they will think that there is something wrong with me. In the final analysis, if you want to beat him, you have to be more ruthless than him. A fierce look appeared on Yao Qinshue's face. What's the point of playing strange stories from a Chinese studio with a 1,000-year-old fox? So, senior sister, what do you think we should do next? How about I call a doctor over to check him out and have him take a good look at his brain? After hearing what Chen said, Yao Qinshue almost couldn't help rolling her eyes. Xiao Chen, you are still too naive. Before we know what methods and abilities this brat has, we should not provoke him for the time being. In addition, he has already offended a large number of elders at the board meeting at the beginning. He may not have an easier time than us in the future. We just need to be patient and not act on impulse. The mistakes he has made are enough to make him suffer for a while. Hearing his senior sister comforting her like this, Chen thought about it and nodded. Senior sister, you are right. I will listen to you. Chapter 16 Sneaking. Compared to Yao Qinshua's busy side, Jiang Wuyou seemed particularly relaxed and at ease. He sat in his room and practiced his skills casually. Good guy, he is worthy of being the gear of destiny of Qianming Jiang Wuyou. Putting it on him could actually make the qi channels and energy in his body flow smoothly instantly. His originally sore shoulders and the ren and du meridians were all opened up in the process of his qi flow. That kind of comfortable and leisurely feeling made him feel refreshed and comfortable all over. The sweat all over his body made him pinch his nose in disgust. It stinks, but I have to give someone a big gift before I take a shower. As he said this, he opened his computer with a smile without even setting a password. He looked like a second-generation rich kid, with a huge shameful picture on his desk. Then he walked straight into the bathroom, whistling and humming a tune. Sure enough, within 3 minutes, the door of his room was quietly opened, and a woman with a beautiful figure wearing a tight dress came in. The movement was so smooth and fast that it was almost unheard of and unseen. What's more, there was only a dim desk lamp in the room, shining on the chair. Instead, it makes it difficult to tell what the previous people in this room were doing. It can even be said that there is no trace of it in this house. It was not until the light shone on the woman's face that I realized it was Murong Xiaoxiao. I want to see what you do every day, you bastard. If I give your information to my senior sister, her life will be better. She muttered softly and just sat down at the computer desk and turned on the mouse. A huge picture of shame was still wriggling wildly. Murong Xiaoxiao was so frightened when she saw this that she almost couldn't help but scream out. It was so exciting that she looked at the standby desktop with a flushed face. Even she swallowed unconsciously. Murong Xiaoxiao admitted that if she were a man, she would probably not be able to help but think shamefully about that when she saw this animated picture. But she is a woman. You are indeed a scoundrel. As she spoke, she manipulated the mouse to open the computer folder. The only thing clearly visible on it was the folder with Yao Qinshua's name on it. With curiosity in mind, Yao Qinshuo clicked directly in. It's a pity that I can neither delete nor open it because it is password protected. In the end, I can only grit my teeth and open the folder next to it. It was a trap specially set by Jiang Wuyou. The entire plan for this big IP investment project was clearly written on it. Murong Xiaoxiao didn't even think about it. She took out the USB drive, downloaded the file, turned around and sneaked out. With this document, senior sister will be able to defeat this brat. When Murong Xiaoxiao thought about how Jiang Wuyou treated him and how he took advantage of her last night, her face turned red and her heart started beating fast. Just then, she heard some other noise in the bathroom and left Jiang Wuyou's bedroom without hesitation. It's a pity that the innocent girl who grew up in the mountains can't beat the old fox who has been struggling in the business world in the city for many years. She never imagined that this was actually a trap set by Jiang Wuyou for her, and she was the little mouse that got into it. Maybe, by the way, he also harmed Yao Qinshuo. It's just that things seem to be moving in an uncontrollable direction. I'm serious, little brother. You must tell senior sister that I have sent the plan to her computer. I won't say any more. I need to go to the hospital to wash my eyes first. After seeing some obscene pictures, Murong Xiaoxiao's eyes felt extremely painful and she thought she was going to get sty. Of course, she was also aware of the importance of this matter, so after sending the message, she hurriedly called Yao Qinshuo, but she didn't expect that it was Yi Chen who answered the phone. Either the man gives up his love brain and starts to plan, or he will use everything to his advantage. After seeing this whole plan, he called Jiyu Ruoshi directly. Jiyu Ruoshi was the most confused. She had originally thought that Jiang Wuyou wanted to share a piece of this big IP with her, but when she heard Yi Chen call her and say that he wanted to take the project for himself, she was so angry that she almost slammed the table and cursed. Are you sure? I have sent you the document, please take a look. This damn scoundrel's words are as nice as his actions. After Jiyu Ruoshi finished speaking, she hung up the phone directly, and there was no chance for Yi Chen to invite her again. But it doesn't matter. Since he was able to ruin the relationship between Jiyu Ruoshi and Jiang Wuyou, he can be said to have saved a life, which is better than building a 7-story pagoda. After Jiyu Ruoshi finished browsing the documents, he made a direct phone call to the strategy department. He had to get this big IP at all costs, as it would determine whether he could sit firmly in the position of president of Jiyu Family Group. Not to mention his brother, who is not very clear-headed in the Jiyu family. Now, those old-fashioned people on the board of directors are all looking forward to him building a career. If he can't even get a small IP, he will probably be slapped in the face. Mr. Jiu, are you sure? If we carry out this project according to this plan and quotation, I think it will cause a lot of trouble to our company's future operations. The director of the strategy department came over with a frown on his face. Although this plan was indeed quite impressive, he felt that it was an excessive investment to put so much effort into such an IP. Besides, there will be more than just this one IP's film and television project investments this year. There may be others in the future. Moreover, the investment return on film and television projects is slow, and we have to wait for the response and early operations. Taking the whole thing into account, although they are the only one investing, the profit will indeed be huge. However, if this IP does not become a big hit as expected, it will cause a lot of trouble for their company in the future. But now Jiu Ruoshi, who was already crazy with killing, didn't want to think about these things at all. I'm the boss, you're the boss. Since I told you to do this, you have to listen to me. Moreover, all the actors of this IP, including the script settings, are hot topics and hot topics this year. As long as the screenwriters can rely on the hot directors to use more realistic techniques during filming, and make all the actors within our controllable range, this project will definitely explode in investment. When the head of the strategy department saw that there was no way to persuade him anymore, he lowered his head dejectedly and nodded. Since their president Jiu said so, he has already reminded everyone as an employee. The rest depends on the fate of the show. As for whether President Jiu can be honest in his position, it is not up to him to decide. Chapter 17 Board of Directors. Jiang Wuyou came out of the bathroom and carefully reviewed the plan he had come up with on the spur of the moment. He even felt that he was a genius. If Yao Qinshue saw such a perfect and impeccable plan, she would probably fight with me to the death. It seems to be an exclusive, so we can only put Yao Qinshue there and continue to invest money as usual. Little did he know that he had already secretly contacted the Jiu family, intending to jointly invest with them. In addition, the Jiu family already had many film and television resources, and countless actors. It's not that it has its own traffic and hotspots. Just the casting and content of the script alone are enough to foresee that it will be a small hit. As a die-hard fan of the original book, he can recite the story by heart. Therefore, he understood how important the investment in this project was to him. He put on his suit, packed his briefcase, called his assistant, and carried his Apple notebook, looking like a business elite. It's a pity that the mink coat on his body betrayed his vulgar and helpless temperament. The assistant couldn't help but take a few more glances at his nouveau riche outfit. How is it? I think my outfit today is impeccable. The assistant could only smile awkwardly. Actually, he just wanted to ask, aren't you too hot to wear a mink coat in this hot summer? Of course Jiang Wuyou didn't he think so. No matter how hot it was, as long as he was happy today, he could do whatever he wanted. As a typical prodigal son and hedonist, how could he possibly pretend to be serious in such a meeting? So as soon as he sat in the meeting room, those board members sneered at him and almost drowned him with spit. It's been a while since President Jiang went to the hospital. The company can't be left without a leader. We can't split the company's affairs into two parts. We have to do everything we can to select a true president to lead us all to make money together. The person who spoke was Mr. Li, who was standing next to Yao Qinshue. After all, Yao Qinshue's stature and the connections behind him have close ties with the Liang family. Even if the Jiang family's company doesn't make money, it won't go bankrupt. What's more, these days it is better to have the means and connections to make money than to have the brains to make money. So in the end, although this group of people are wavering, they are still more inclined to Yao Qinshue's side. What's the big deal? We all have the same last name, Jiang, so why can't it be little Jiang? Jiang Wuyou threw the lollipop into the ashtray, and a subtle look flashed in his eyes. If everyone is meaningless, the Jiang family will still be the Jiang family, and it is naturally not the turn of outsiders to interfere. Brother, do you feel unhappy that I, as your sister-in-law, have interfered in the affairs of the company? But your elder brother entrusted the company to me before he went to the hospital, and I have half the credit for this company. What's more, you have never participated in the affairs and investments of the company, and you don't know the operation of the company at all. You can make me hand over the company to you with just a few words. I have no credit for this company, but I have worked hard. I have cultivated it for many years and have worked hard for the company. If you block me from the door just because of your surname, isn't it too unfair to me? Yao Qinshue also directly prompted the board members present to start a discussion. Not really. I'm not saying you're a bad person, sister-in-law. I'm saying that the company should belong to whoever has the last name on it. Moreover, this company was founded by my brother, and he gave you as much as others. If you want to divide the shares, I should get a lot. He smiled faintly, seemingly harmless, but his words were extremely vicious. Sister-in-law, I am planning to invest in the film and television industry. What's more, the film and television industry is what my brother has always wanted to do. I just want to fulfill my brother's wish. Sister-in-law, you are so resistant. Do you have something else in your heart? After hearing what he said, Yao Qinshue slammed the table heavily. Keep your mouth clean. My dear sister-in-law, how can I not let it go? I have done a lot of things for this big IP now. I have already done the investment and planning. How about this? Whoever gets the project will own the company. Jiang Wuyou seemed to have prepared it in advance and just pressed the button on his mobile phone and the PPT was displayed in front of everyone. Everyone has been vying for hit drama IPs in recent years, especially this IP which can be said to have the hottest cast and the hottest topic at the moment. I believe it will be a small hit next year. What do you think? Before the board members could react, Jiang Wuyou quickly went through the PPT. Since everyone has no objection, let's do it this way. He turned off the projector and left the meeting room. While everyone was still confused, he had already arranged everything. Everyone was left sitting there, at a loss and stunned. Is this really the case? So when Yao Qinshue walked out of the office and turned on her computer, she discovered that the file Murong Xiaoxiao had sent her had already been forwarded directly to Jiyu Ruoshi by her good brother. How can you be so stupid at this time? If you give this file to Jiyu Ruoshi, won't the Jiyu family and our real Rob? The company's affairs were already enough to give him a headache, but he didn't expect that his junior brother was also a love-minded person. Sister, this is a favor to the Jiyu family. The Jiyu family is considered a big family in the film and television industry. Maybe they can provide us with a lot of help in the future. Instead of letting Jiang Wuyou offend everyone, it is better for us to protect him. If both sides can cooperate, maybe. After Chen said this, Yao Qinshue half closed her eyes. What junior brother said makes a lot of sense. But before Yao Qinshue could ask Jiyu Ruoshi out for dinner, Jiyu Ruoshi had already angrily arranged everything for the bid, and even the bid documents had been prepared and sent to the bidding site for review. So when Jiang Wuyou was excitedly preparing to call Jiyu Ruoshi to ask her to have dinner together to discuss the content of the cooperation, he was hung up instead. I wanted to have dinner with a beautiful lady, but it seems I won't have the chance today. Although he was a little unhappy, Jiang Wuyou still sent the message politely. Who would have thought that he would see a red exclamation mark just after sending the message? He was a little confused. So he drove the car to the downstairs of Jiyu Ruoshi's company. It can only be said that enemies often meet. Yao Qinshue happened to get out of the car. The two looked at each other, and it seemed that they had played each other's psychological warfare clearly. I didn't expect you to come. Chapter 18, Acting in Full. I didn't expect you to come too. Yao Qinshue looked at him with a sneer. Isn't this a coincidence that I am in tune with my sister-in-law? Jiang Wuyou gave a fake smile, while Yao Qinshue rolled her eyes and turned away. Since Yao Qinshue had already gone there was no point for him to go up and look for Jiyu Ruoshi. It would be better for him to let the two of them talk among themselves first. Thinking of this, he drove back to his company. Having occupied the original owner's identity for so long, he has yet to take a good look at what his company is like. However, he has always been too low-key, and many people in the company don't know him very well, so they don't hesitate to whisper about him behind his back. That's right. If that prodigal son can get promoted, I'm afraid the Jiang family will be doomed in the future. Don't tell me, really, don't tell me, that brat doesn't have any special abilities, but he does have good luck. These people always attribute other people's success to luck. He never thought that his success was due to his foresight. Just wait and see, sooner or later, that idiot Chen will take back everything that belongs to him. Just as these people were whispering, Jiang Wuyou walked over without knowing when. It was obvious that these shareholders were just talking as they walked, but Jiang Wuyou's sudden arrival made them feel a little unsatisfied. I have remembered everything you said. I will learn from my mistakes and try to use less of them. However, I would like to ask all shareholders to take good care of their wallets and their actions in the future. He smiled slightly and looked extremely scary. Those shareholders felt that the temperature around them dropped instantly, and they didn't even dare to breathe. We didn't either. They just bullied you a few times. Besides, if you really have a clear conscience, why would you let us be afraid to talk about you behind your back? Besides, Mr. Jiang, you are young and promising. We don't have any reward for gossiping about you behind your back. If you do a good job in the future, we won't say anything more. Don't worry, there won't be a next time. Jiang Wuyou said this and turned away, not giving anyone a chance to refute. However, those shareholders felt a chill all over their bodies, and could even foresee how much their own stocks would plummet next. Thinking of this, they couldn't help but want to slap themselves a few times. Why did they say such mean words just now? In the end, their company was implicated. After all, the current Jiang Wuyou is not the same Jiang Wuyou as before. He restrained his cynical look and even his rebelliousness. Now he looked like a noble son, full of elegance in his every move. Even every decision he made seemed to be beyond everyone's imagination. But for Jiang Wuyou, who was attending a meeting at Gu's house, she was being held in front of the board of directors. Mr. Jiang, even though your father handed over the entire company to you, you never communicated with us about such a large investment in a film and television project. How do you know that this IP will definitely be approved? How can you change it without the relevant government documents? The board of directors was extremely furious. They had finally managed to stop the investment, but they didn't expect that Jiang Wuyou would directly invest it in her own name. So in fact, Jiang Wuyou had already anticipated this scene. Her brother Jiang Wuyou, on the contrary, seemed to be gloating. He just hoped that Jiang Wuyou could lose her reputation in front of the board of directors and make the shareholders of the board no longer trust her. However, before Jiang Wuyou made a move, these shareholders were like greedy fish that had taken a bite of the bait. Not only did they take the bait, they also greedily wanted more. I said this thing will succeed and it will definitely succeed. Those present here said they don't believe it. He can choose to withdraw his investment. I am willing to purchase your shares in my own name. The Jiang family does not need shareholders who cannot share the joys and sorrows and advance and retreat together. She was so arrogant that the shareholders were furious. Indeed, one or two of them impulsively chose to withdraw their shares. On the contrary, Jiang Wuyou watched everyone leave and patted Jiang Wuyou's shoulder as if to comfort her, as if his sympathy for his sister was mixed with some other emotions. My dear sister, if you were not so stubborn and listened to other people's opinions, why would you have let yourself get to where you are today? You don't have that much liquid capital on hand. Are you planning to sell your property and work for me in the future? Are you so sure that you can get this company? Vice President Jiang has added a vice president, but you are still below me, which means that in my father's eyes, you are still not as good as me. These words deeply hurt Jiang Wuyou's heart. In his opinion, the company would be handed over to him sooner or later, so how could it be handed over to his sister directly? His father was a confused person, and his sister was also a person who did not know how to consider the overall situation. This property will be given to my son sooner or later. Now it is in my sister's hands, but it is just for him to satisfy his desire. I know that when he really gets married one day, this property will naturally fall into his hands. He just never dreamed that his sister would suddenly become a member of the board of directors and even directly confront these shareholders. As for myself, I still only have the qualification to be an observer. Brother, if you can stay in this company, then stay. If not, you can find another job as their vice president. Whoever I give the job to can create benefits for me instead of producing such a lousy result. If you just want this reputation, you should go home as soon as possible and live the life of a free and easy young man. Hearing her sister's sarcasm towards her, although Jiang Wuyou was angry, she still left with a fake smile. Before leaving, he did not forget to smile at Jiang Wuyou. I advise you to think carefully about each step. Others have caused a lot of mess. In the end, I have to solve it for you. I am very annoyed. Chen was also positive. Ever since he revealed the news to Jiang Wuyou, he had been looking forward to continuing to have contact with Jiang Wuyou. She sat in the parking lot early in the morning holding flowers, waiting for Jiang Wuyou to get off work. After a busy day at work today, she was thinking about going to socialize with those actors after get off work. She didn't expect to run into Yi Chen as soon as she came out of the underground garage. He had a short haircut and a sunny look, which made her blush. So there are quite a few men chasing after her, but it is very rare to find one as unique as Yi Chen. He is a down-to-earth person with good fighting skills, not to mention he is also a very business-minded person. It's a pity that he is not the more powerful heir of the Jiang family. If he could have a seat in the Jiang family, maybe his future husband might really be Yi Chen. Obviously, the difference of one word has clearly revealed the gap in their fate. Miss Jiu, I wonder if I would be lucky enough to have you over for dinner tonight. No, I have other things to do tonight. Chapter 19, Encountered by Chance. Yi Chen didn't expect Jiu Ruoshi to refuse so straightforwardly, so when he walked to Jiu Ruoshi, he still put the flowers in his hand. I don't know if you like it, but I sent you some flowers. I heard that girls like it more. Yi Chen ignored Jiu Ruoshi's topic and smiled faintly. I know that this matter must be very busy for you at work recently, so I don't want to disturb you. We can just have a simple meal. Maybe I can help you with your work. After hearing what Yi Chen said, Jiu Ruoshi became interested. You can help me. How can you help me? The Jiang family's future business plans are very clear. Even if we don't cooperate on this project, maybe you can have more contact with my senior sister on other projects. After hearing what Yi Chen said, Jiu Ruoshi began to think thoughtfully. He had considered the pros and cons of this. He had thought about why Yao Qinxue would slander Jiang Wuyou in front of him. It was simply because of the issue of inheritance rights. She and Jiang Wuyou were engaged. If the Jiu family and the Jiang family were to marry, Jiang Wuyou would be the direct beneficiary. Perhaps Zhang Jie would end up in Jiang Wuyou's pocket sooner or later. But if Yao Qinxue wants to inherit, then Jiang Wuyou must do everything he can to be kicked out, so that she will hate Jiang Wuyou and the marriage cannot continue, and it will become the current situation. And Yi Chen was pursuing her, obviously hoping to win her over and move her towards Yao Qinxue. To be honest, when the two of them went to have dinner in the restaurant before, Jiu Ruoshi had some feelings for Jiang Wuyou. After all, this boy was righteous and had a bit of a bad taste. This was very different from the men he had known before. Jiang Wuyou is neither rigid nor inflexible and is full of unlimited motivation. Being with him makes me feel like I'm back to my youth at the age of 18. But from the perspective of interests. If he helps, he must be humble, which means that he can get freedom of marriage. If he follows Jiang Wuyou, he doesn't know what kind of life he will live. Then let's go have a meal first. Instead of deciding the outcome of the matter now, it would be better to agree to have dinner with Yi Chen. Maybe you can get something more out of him. After all, she is a typical businesswoman. So when the two of them walked into the restaurant, they still sat at the same seat, but they swiped Yao Qinxue's card. The table was full of food. Yi Chen had done his homework in advance and picked out Jiu Ruoshi's favorite foods, so she looked at the table full of excitement. I did my homework in advance and knew you liked these, so I chose this store on purpose. I hope you like it. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, he saw Jiang Wuyou walking towards him with big strides. He was still dressed in that coquettish outfit. In the hot summer, he was wearing a mink coat and looked like a nouveau riche. But when Jiang Wuyou saw Jiu Ruoshi, he tried hard to wave. Miss Jiu, what a coincidence. I was just planning to go to your company to find you and order some of your favorite food from this restaurant. After all, this is a courtesy. I never thought that we would be so in sync when we came here. As he spoke, he pushed Yi Chen aside. It was obviously Yi Chen who hosted the dinner and invited Jiu Ruoshi to go shopping together. He wanted to bring the two closer together at dinner, but he never thought that he was making wedding clothes for Jiang Wuyou. Today, Miss Jiu and I are dining together. You are not welcome here. Yi Chen had already written rejection on his face. His face and even his whole body were showing resistance. He was still sitting there with an obviously ignorant look on his face. This kid is really good. I tell you, this is delicious. Try it. Seeing Jiang Wuyou's complete ignorance, Jiu Ruoshi was furious. Because the man who was still discussing cooperation with him 2 days ago pretended nothing had happened and handed in such a disgusting report at the board meeting today. What's the difference between this and lying to him? That's enough, Mr. Jiang. Maybe there are some misunderstandings between you and me. It's my fault that I didn't understand the hidden meaning of your words. But the last time I talked to you about dinner, I told you very seriously. The Jiu family is definitely not as simple as you think to me, so I will definitely do whatever it takes to achieve my goal. Hearing Jiu Ruoshi say this, he was stunned. He thought that Murong Xiaoxia would send this document directly to Yao Qinshu, but he never dreamed that Yi Chen would send this report to Jiu Ruoshi in order to do her such a favor. The most important thing is that Jiu Ruoshi, this fool, actually believed it. Hearing what Guo Ruoshi said, Jiang Wuyou took out a document from his arms and handed it to Jiu Ruoshi. Miss Jiu, sometimes you have to listen to everything and read the documents in full. Moreover, since I didn't hand it to you personally, how can you trust it? If someone else instigates you and overturns the original agreement between you and me, who is the one who is hateful, then who is hateful, him or me? After talking with Miss Jiu last time, I also thought clearly about the seriousness of the matter, so I specially prepared the documents and communicated with the board of directors in advance. When Jiu Ruoshi saw this document, she was stunned. It's the cooperation plan for that big IP. Yes, I think what Miss Jiu said makes sense. Instead of trying to make money by yourself, it's better for everyone to make money together. Making money alone is not a skill. If everyone can make money together, and everyone can make money happily, this is the real skill. I think working with Miss Jiu should make me feel unprecedented happiness. After saying that, he smiled and handed the pen to Jiu Ruoshi. Ms. Jiu, you can consider it. Rather than cooperating with him, I am more sincere than his false and provocative remarks and actions. Jiu Ruoshi glanced at the contract and signed it without thinking. Now it was Yi Chen's turn to stand there in a daze. He slammed the table and pointed at Jiang Wuyou in anger, wanting to curse. Are you sick? I was the one who made an appointment with Miss Jiu to have dinner and look at the contract, but you came here first and cut me off. How can you be so shameless in your dealings? I don't want to force my face. Jiang Wuyou's eyes widened, he laughed, pointed at himself and made an innocent expression towards Yi Chen. No matter how shameless you are, you can't sneak into a boy's room and look through his underwear and private computer. Tell me, who is the pervert in this comparison? Chapter 20 Threats. Yi Chen never expected that Jiang Wuyou would reveal everything at once. This made Jiu Ruoshi frown slightly when she looked at Yi Chen. It's not that I didn't. Yi Chen explained hurriedly. Yes, it's my second senior sister. She was just wandering around because she had nothing to do, and she just happened to run into Jiang Wuyou's bedroom by accident. This is not a coincidence. He found my bedroom accurately at night. He gave an ambiguous smile, causing both people present to gasp. Yi Chen even wanted to rush over and cover his mouth to make him shut up. Guo Ruoshi frowned, and her eyes revealed a hint of gossip. She wants to hear more. The few of them kept dawdling until finally Yi Chen felt too embarrassed to stay there any longer, so he turned around and left with his bag. This was a huge table full of dishes. But the person who paid in the end didn't get to eat anything. Instead, Jiang Wuyou sat there leisurely, eating mouthful after mouthful. I'm actually quite curious, aren't you afraid that he'll cause you trouble when he returns? What are you afraid of? Who is he? The entire Jiang family belongs to me. Who dares to cause trouble to me? Jiang Wuyou said this with some arrogance. Actually, he was not bragging. It was true that ever since his brother was admitted to the ICU, he had been doing whatever he wanted in the entire Jiang family. He was a typical spendthrift, and he spent money wherever he went. Was there any woman in the whole city who had not been raped by him? As long as he likes something, as long as he wants it, he will use endless means. Of course, this typical prodigal son is the original owner of this body. As the current owner of this prodigal son's body, he dare not act like this. After all, there are wolves in front and tigers behind, and you are the only idiot in the middle. What's rare is that I have a goddess perspective and know everything. What if something goes wrong? That really means you won't have enough to eat. Then I'm curious why you finally chose me. Because you are the most cost-effective of all people. Before I was a man, I was a businessman. I know that everything has a price tag. I'm doing you a favor, and you will definitely find a way to repay me one day. Besides, you have to act the whole part. I guess your brother has already fallen for it. Hearing Jiang Wuyou say this, Jiu Ruoshi reacted instantly. Jiang Wuyou was playing a big game, so he probably didn't expect that the document would be handed to him at first. It could be said that he helped her a lot by accident. You are my lucky star. As she spoke, Jiang Ruoshi hugged him, took 2 bites of pizza, turned around and ran. Jiang Wuyou was the only one left, sitting at the table with his chin in his hand, sighing in disappointment. I wanted to spend more time with the beautiful lady, but this really spoils my mood. Of course, this incident also offended the Jiang family, so as soon as he returned, he directly told Murong Xiaoxiao that Jiang Wuyou was completely plotting against him. I did it perfectly, how could he know? I told you not to go find that Jiang Ruoshi first, because who knows what he was thinking. Now, he is completely on the side of that damn devil. Murong Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes in anger, and Yi Chen could only lower his head. Yang Qinxue actually loved herself, so this junior brother walked up to her and comforted her carefully. It's okay. That kid is always a little stupid. He just got lucky. After all, who could have imagined something like this? We need to be more careful next time. Just as Yao Qinxue finished her words, Jiang Wuyou strode into the manor. He whistled at Yao Qinxue with a provocative look, and even looked like a hooligan. Yi Chen was so angry that he stood up. Fortunately, Yao Qinxue grabbed him and made him sit back on the sofa. I told my sister-in-law to try a different way next time. This way is too rustic. Sometimes you can neither gain any benefits nor any connections. If you say that you have to give gifts to build relationships, you will only lose face. After saying that, Yi Chen whistled and went straight to his bedroom. Etc. Yao Qinxue looked at Murong Xiaoxiao. Xiaoxiao didn't do it on purpose. Girls always have some little thoughts. It was just a little bit of mischief and she didn't think it would get so serious. Now the Jiang family knows about this. What will happen to Xiaoxiao if others find out about it in the future? Yao Qinxue pushed Murong Xiaoxiao as she spoke. When he got the name of senior sister, Yao Qinxue took a step forward and bowed deeply. I'm sorry, Mr. Jiang, I didn't mean it. I just felt that what you did that night was too much. I couldn't stand it, so I played a trick on you. I didn't want to make a big fuss. Besides, I just took a document. I didn't think about what was written on the document or what the connection was. You know, I've been in the mountains the whole time, so I can't understand these things at all. It seems like he has cleared himself of all responsibilities. In fact, it was undoubtedly reported. It was like telling Jiang Wuyou that it was because you made me unhappy that I did these things. You should reflect on yourself instead of asking me to apologize to you sincerely here. Okay, since you don't know what it is and what it is, why did this document end up in the hands of the Jiang family? If the Jiang family wants to pursue any responsibility later, do you still hope that you can compensate them yourself? Jiang Wuyou, on the other hand, looked calm and indifferent. The company is now divided into 2 teams. In this case, you can just take charge of yourselves. My contract with Jiang Jia will continue. Since I chose Jiang Ruoshi, he is my best partner now, so naturally I won't think about other projects. As for sister-in-law, if you are really capable, you might as well think about how to invite Miss Liang back next. After he finished speaking in a nasty tone, he did not care about Murong Xiaoxiao's expression behind him and went back to his bedroom leisurely. Murong Xiaoxiao was so angry that her teeth were itching. She glared at her senior sister and hated her own helplessness. I'm really speechless. Why would there be such a disgusting person? And senior sister isn't even on the mountain right now. How can we invite him back? I'm not the hardest one. The hardest thing is that my senior sister has always had a bad relationship with her family. If my senior sister comes back, who knows what kind of big move her family will make? Forget it. I'll find a way to solve this matter. Remember not to make any more noise these days. If the Jiang family really wants to blame you, let them come to the company to find me directly. Chapter 21 Happy Cooperation. Since they were going to cooperate, there must be a very formal start, so Jiang Wuyou invited Jiang Ruoshi to have dinner at the animal restaurant where they first met, and brought the contract. Jiang Ruoshi happily took the contract. This contract was like a life-saving talisman to her. I always feel like Miss Jiang still owes me an apology. I misunderstood this matter. I am really sorry. If you need me in the future, I will do my best to help you. Jiang Ruoshi returned to her usual cold self. Jiang Wuyou teased slightly. It's a bit meaningless to say that you are thanking me in this way. If you say that I came here just to thank me in this simple way, then I will leave. as Jiang Wuyou was about to stand up and take the contract. Seeing that Jiang Wuyou didn't buy into her coolness at all, Jiu Ruoshi immediately became unable to sit still, etc. She shouted anxiously and twisted her body in an unnatural way. So what do you want? Since this is a collaboration, I certainly have my own requirements. For example, in this movie, I hope Miss Jiu can be the heroine. The heat and hot spots of the topic went through Jiang Wuyou's mind over and over again. The sponsor invested millions and made a movie for himself. This is simply the perfect publicity stunt. Realize the most perfect dream of childhood. This made Jiu Ruoshi's expression change immediately. She slammed the table, looking very unhappy. You asked me to star in a newly signed big IP. What were you thinking? Besides, I don't have any professional experience. You asked me to go there because you thought this investment would fail, didn't you? If Miss Jiu trusts me, she should be able to imagine what I am thinking. If the Jiu family can't imagine it, then it's best to listen to my arrangements. After all, as long as I am with Miss Jiu, this investment will be a sure win. His confident look made Jiu Ruoshi feel a little unsure. Guo Ruoshi, who had just wanted to scold Jiang Wuyou, could only sit in front of him with a pout and a gloomy face. Is that really the case? If you are so sure about this new IP, why don't you consider investing in someone better? I said that a successful IP should not be a hype product, but the people behind it must have the ability to manipulate it. As for why I chose to cooperate with Miss Jiu, it is probably because we have the same goal, but more importantly, I like beautiful women. His frivolous smile made Jiu Ruoshi's face look strange, and Jiang Wuyou provoked him intentionally or unintentionally, which made his face turn red. I heard that the new movie invested by your company was released today. Why don't we go and see it together? Seeing Jiang Wuyou's frivolous smile and his hands carefully groping the back of her hands, Jiu Ruoshi knew that she was about to fall. Guo Ruoshi, who always thinks she is noble, would actually be with such a playboy and go to the movies with him. No matter how you look at it, this is a hot topic for the wealthy nobles and the media to discuss after dinner. You have to do the whole thing when you're doing a play. Moreover, this time I'm not only going to invest in this big IP, I'm also going to buy shares in Gujia. Hearing this, Jiu Ruoshi's face showed obvious surprise. Not to mention that the Jiu family's industry has been built up step by step to this day, even the film and television industry has only begun to rise in recent years. So although we are not the leader in the industry, we are still far ahead in the industry. The investment in the media department was all completed by Jiu Ruoshi alone. This scale has allowed her to reach where she is today step by step, and it is also the trump card that enables her to gain a firm foothold in the Jiu family. If she chose to raise funds at this time, she would be very afraid that Jiang Wuyou would take the opportunity to swallow up the Jiu family. The more comfortable life is, the harder it is to take care of your family. What if I say no? Jiu Ruoshi's face darkened and she stared at Jiang Wuyou. Gujia film and television industry does not need any financing or investment in the short term. Unnecessary. Jiu Ruoshi still firmly refused. But Jiang Wuyou's hands became more and more passionate. He carefully felt Jiu Ruoshi's hands, and the soft feeling made an ambiguous look unconsciously appear on his face. As long as you agree to my shareholding request, you can put forward any conditions, and our Jiang family will agree to them. His voice was full of ambiguity, and the rogue look on his face made Jiu Ruoshi feel that he was somewhat romantic. You are just a gangster. She lowered her voice, her face flushed with anger and anxiety. I am not a normal person in your eyes, so why should I pretend to be one? I might as well face my own desires. Besides, Miss Jiu, I don't believe that you don't have me in your eyes. He smirked slightly, and slowly touched Jiu Ruoshi's thigh from the initial groping. Damn. The legs of a rich girl are so thin and straight, and they feel smooth and soft to the touch. It gives people a somewhat unexpected feeling. What do you want to do? Jiang Wuyou stretched his body and his face returned to its original expression. He blinked innocently and looked at Jiu Ruoshi. We've kissed and touched each other before, so what if we just hugged each other? Jiu Ruoshi was a public figure after all, so he naturally couldn't understand why she was kissed and touched by a man in public. Fortunately, when she turned around, she saw Jiang Wuyou put the contract in front of her again. My purpose is actually very simple. I just want to invest in the Jiu family. After all, the Jiu family is a leader in the media industry. If I have any interest in the Jiu family, it will naturally bring me more resources. This is mutually beneficial for both of us. I can even sign a bet agreement with you. At this point, it would be a lie for Jiu Ruoshi to say she wasn't moved. But it was obvious that the person in front of her was not as simple as she had imagined. Whether you can extend your position as CEO Jiu depends on who can create more benefits for the company. The Jiu family and the Jiang family were originally going to marry, which meant a marriage between the two families. Your position as CEO Jiu would only become more and more stable. But now our families have long been separated and don't have much contact. Even the engagement has been cancelled. That means you need to find new prey to consolidate your position. Jiang Wuyou paused when he said this. But now I have extended an olive branch to you. You can choose to continue cooperating with me. Our cooperation can still bring more benefits to your family. This is a mutually beneficial exchange. You can firmly sit on the position of the president of the Jiu family, and I can also lower the price and have a place. Both of us can realize our wishes. Why not do it? After he finished speaking, he tapped the contract twice gently. Smart girls know how to choose. Chapter 22 Sweet Moments. Jiu Ruoshi gritted her teeth and signed her name directly on the contract. The support she wants for this IP requires a more stable partner who can help him gain a stronger foothold in the position of the president of the Jiu family. There are wolves in front and tigers behind. If you want to survive in this world of wolves, tigers and leopards, you should abandon your 7 emotions and 6 desires. So since she made this her life goal, she has never thought that one day she will be able to find a lover who is in tune with her soul. Her purpose is just to make herself sit in this position more firmly. Jiang Wuyou smiled slightly when he saw Jiu Ruoshi sign the document. A gentle smile appeared on his face. He touched Jiu Ruoshi's hair as if he was coaxing a child. Smart people can always clearly analyze the pros and cons. For example, the pros and cons between you and me are already very clear. Now I am your partner. I look forward to our pleasant cooperation in the future. Jiang Wuyou felt a little uncomfortable when he said this empty words, but it sounded particularly smooth to Jiu Ruoshi's ears. Her face was slightly flushed, and she looked at Jiang Wuyou inquiringly with a hint of shyness. She had to admit that Jiang Wuyou's appearance surprised her a little. She had never thought that Jiang Wuyou would be like this. He seemed to be much more powerful than the kind of scoundrel she had imagined before. The starlight under the moonlight shone on the table where they were dining. Jiang Wuyou straightened his clothes, stood up and walked to the center of the stage. At this time, the entire restaurant was already crowded with people, and they saw Jiang Wuyou just walking straight to the piano. Jiu Ruoshi's eyes widened instantly, and she ran over quickly, trying to stop him. What are you doing? Since we are going to cooperate, I naturally want to play a song for Miss Jiu of our family to celebrate our cooperation this time. Jiang Wuyou smiled gently, but looking at Jiang Wuyou's indifferent appearance, it didn't seem like he could be associated with an elegant instrument like the piano. In fact, there is something that Jiang Wuyou couldn't imagine. For example, before coming to this world, he played a very good piano. Another example is that although he had nothing to do, he knew a lot of things. I never thought that these little skills and tricks would be very useful in this world. With money, good looks and beautiful women, this world is so great. Hey, if you don't know how to do it, get down here right away. Don't embarrass yourself up there. If a reporter takes a picture of me, how will I save my face? Jiu Ruoshi had a cold face and was so embarrassed that she almost dug her toes into the ground. Jiang Wuyou completely ignored the nervousness on his face. The first note he played made Jiu Ruoshi's heart slow down half a beat. Damn. He really is good at it. Jiu Ruoshi never dreamed that Jiang Wuyou could play such a good piano piece, especially his slender fingers that seemed to be born specially for the piano. Every note was hit at the perfect place, as if the music itself belonged to him alone. In fact, it was not as exaggerated as Jiu Ruoshi imagined. Instead, it cast a layer of good impression on Jiang Wuyou, and the filter made him lose his original judgment. These pieces of music were nothing more than the pieces that Jiang Wuyou practiced day and night in his original world in preparation for the exam. I just didn't expect that after coming into this world, his hands could still play those notes reflexively, which was really surprising. As soon as the song was over, everyone stood up and started applauding. Jiang Wuyou felt a little embarrassed. From the moment he sat down, someone recognized him and took out their cell phones to start filming. Everyone knows that the future heir of the Jiang family is a natural master of fun. It's bad enough that he's uneducated, but this kind of elegant music has nothing to do with Jiang Wuyou at all. If Jiang Wuyou didn't have an older brother who could help him withstand the ups and downs of life, Jiang Wuyou would have disappeared by now. Now that his brother has fallen, the entire family has fallen into the hands of his sister-in-law, and the two of them are fighting over these things, and it can be said that the whole city knows about it. No one dared to mention it openly, but everyone knew it in private. So when Jiang Wuyou appeared in front of everyone playing the piano very well, everyone was stunned. Could it be that Jiang Wuyou has been playing dumb all these years just to avoid making his brother worry and affecting his brother's dedication to the company? If that's the case, then Jiang Wuyou is the real boss. Being able to think of everything with ease. Then for the current character, perhaps Jiang Wuyou is the real hidden winner. At this time, Yao Qinxue, who was sitting in the bedroom after working out, saw the video of Jiang Wuyou's performance when she checked her phone. Less than 20 minutes after uploading, it had already received over 1 million likes and comments. Most people know that Jiang Wuyou is a prodigal son. To put it bluntly, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is a gangster. He has already offended many business families and nobles in this city. It's no surprise how bad its reputation is. But now, this good piano piece has helped him regain a lot of popularity among the public. However, what caught Yao Qinxue's attention was not Jiang Wuyou's piano piece, which made her feel pleasant and moving. Instead, it was Jiyu Ruoshi sitting in the corner who attracted her attention. Immediately afterwards, Chen returned home. Seeing his fellow apprentice with a bitter face, he probably guessed something. "Didn't you say that the girl from the Jiyu family had a good impression of you?" Yao Qinxue asked with a frown. She always thought that her younger brother was very smart, even outstanding in ability, but now it seems that her younger brother is no match for that 1,000-year-old fox. Jiang Wuyou was really hiding too deep, which made him have too many unexpected things. From the initial board meeting to now, step by step, he was trapped in an unjust situation. "Sister, Jiang Wuyou has negotiated the film and television cooperation for that big IP, and he has decided to cooperate with the Jiyu family. As for the follow-up, I don't know, but you'd better be careful." After saying this, Chen left with his head hung. Jiang Wuyou saw through him like a clown. How could a loser like Jiang Wuyou see through me so clearly? Did I become weaker after leaving the mountain? Thinking of this, he unconsciously slapped himself twice. Your beauty messed up everything. Are you feeling bad now? Chapter 23, The Stars. Yao Qinxue stared at the video for a long time, and the last call was actually made directly to Jiyu Ruoshi. Jiyu Ruoshi, who had just returned home, was lying on the bed. "Hello, it's Mrs. Jiang." Her tone was very cold, with a hint of politeness. Especially this sentence, Mrs. Jiang directly pulled the relationship between her and Yao Qinxue a huge distance. Of course, Yao Qinxue knew in her heart that if it weren't for his identity as Mrs. Jiang, he would not have the qualifications to live in this castle at all, let alone meet a woman like Jiyu Ruoshi. "I heard that you and my younger brother worked together to discuss the plan." Yao Qinxue spoke frankly and did not hide anything. "Yes. As a sister-in-law, I shouldn't say bad things about my brother-in-law behind his back, but there are some things I have to remind you of. He is not as simple as you think, especially since the Jiang family and the Jiyu family have long fallen out. Now the Jiang family has taken the initiative to propose to cooperate with the Jiyu family on a project. I never thought that my brother-in-law's intentions would be simple." Hearing that Jiyu Ruoshi on the other side did not respond, Yao Qinxue continued to lobby. "You also know that we are in opposition to each other. There are some things I don't want to talk to you about, but you and I are destined to be together. If you really cooperate with this guy, it won't affect me, but it won't be that simple for you. Mrs. Jiang, I know you are doing this for my own good, but I have already made up my mind about this matter. Besides, you don't have any better projects to bring to me, right?" The two of them exchanged some pleasantries and then hung up the phone. Yao Qinxue, who was already a little anxious and unable to sleep, lay in bed all night checking the accounts but still felt something was not right. Then, without thinking, he pulled Chen up from the bed. Chen, who was sleeping soundly in bed at this time, rubbed his eyes drowsily. "I say, senior sister, if there is anything you want to talk about this late at night, can't we talk about it tomorrow? You have to pull me up now, and the matter has already been settled. We don't need to pursue these things anymore. We just need to think about what to do next. Chen was so sleepy that he couldn't open his eyes. He didn't want to say a word to Yao Qinxue at all. Tomorrow night is the 1-year-old party for Mr. Chen and Mrs. Chen's child. I know. Didn't I say I'd go with you? Chen nodded dazedly. No need, I'll go with Jiang Wuyou. After saying that, Yao Qinxue left Chen's bedroom. This time it was Chen's turn, who couldn't sleep. He yelled at the door in frustration. Sister, can you please let me sleep well at night? Just for such a small matter, you came to my room and pulled me up. His voice received no response except an echo in this huge castle. By the next night, Jiang Wuyou had dressed himself up and put on a suit and tie, looking like the perfect cool guy. Jiang Wuyou now understands a truth: when you go out, your identity is given by yourself. It was like that before, but now it is a perversion. He just wants to make himself look despised and looked down upon, so that no one will do anything to him. The more he behaved like this, the more people began to think he was unfathomable, and they felt they didn't want to have close contact with him. Even among the wealthy and aristocratic families, it is said that you cannot get close to Jiang Wuyou, even if you are negotiating business with a beggar or $1 million deal with a swindler. Yao Qinxue was dressed like a noble lady. She wore an exquisite evening dress and a small shawl. She looked energetic and cute, making people drool just by looking at her. So when Yao Qinxue walked to Jiang Wuyou, he moved in an unbelievable way. After all, the conflict between him and Yao Qinxue was basically irreconcilable. So he raised his eyebrows and leaned against the door, looking completely curious. What's wrong, sister-in-law? You're going to attend a dinner party soon. It's not like you to come to my place. Sister-in-law, you should put on some makeup and dress up nicely. Maybe you can meet someone who can help you at the party. Jiang Wuyou's words were full of hidden meanings, which made Yao Qinxue so angry that she wanted to bite her, but she had nothing to say. But Yao Qinxue also knew in his heart that with Jiang Wuyou's help at this birthday party, he might be able to advance to a higher level. After learning from this lesson, Yao Qinxue probably understood that Jiang Wuyou was not as harmless as he appeared to be. Jiang Wuyou himself seems to be more capable. I originally wanted to take this opportunity to bring Chen to more wealthy nobles to get to know him. Even if there won't be too many interactions in the future, if someone needs it, it might bring more opportunities for Chen. But now it seems that I am the one who needs a turnaround. I'll go with you. Mr. Chen also invited me to attend the birthday party. In fact, Mr. Chen was a bit conflicted in giving the 2 places to the Jiang family. If Jiang Wuyou was invited, his first birthday party might become a little out of control. But if the quota was only given to Yao Qinxue, perhaps his fate with the Jiang family would have ended there. Especially now, the Jiang family is in the limelight. All major newspapers and sections are filled with news about their family, especially Jiang Wuyou. His extremely arrogant look makes many people worried, fearing that Jiang Wuyou is doing something behind the scenes. For the future of the company and for the Chen family to be able to receive Jiang Wuyou's protection in the future. A lean camel is still bigger than a horse. Even though the Jiang family is in decline, they are still much richer and more powerful than many wealthy aristocratic families. So when the 2 of them magically walked into the banquet hall, it actually made people feel a little surprised. On the one hand, the rumors about the 2 people's discord were almost known to everyone. Now the 2 of them attended the banquet together and became each other's dance partners, which was really surprising. So Mr. Chen tentatively took 2 glasses of champagne and handed them over. Today is my son's first birthday party. I hope you can have fun here. If you need anything, please come to me as much as possible. The service staff will also help you. Mr. Chen reminded quietly. He was really afraid that if these 2 people made a scene at the first birthday party, would it affect his son's future fortune? Thinking of this, he swallowed and a look of fear almost appeared in front of his eyes. Congratulations. I never thought that Mr. Chen's son is already 1 year old. I still remember the photos of him in the circle of friends when I saw him before he was just born. He was so small and cute. Jiang Wuyou said praisingly. Chapter 24 Harassment. After a few pleasantries, Mr. Chen saw that the situation was not right, so he found an excuse and left with the child. Anyway, as long as I can get through today safely, that's fine. He had never imagined that these two sworn enemies would be sitting together at the same table on the happiest day of his son's life. Mr. Chen called the housekeeper over angrily. "How did you send this invitation? How could it be sent to both Miss Yao and Mr. Jiang? You only said you wanted to invite the Jiang family, but now there are two people from the Jiang family who are speaking, so we sent two invitations at the same time." After hearing what the housekeeper said, Mr. Chen could only slap his head in silence. Soon it was time for the banquet. As the head of the family, Mr. Chen naturally stood on the stage and talked about his love history with his wife and the growth process of his children. In the middle, of course, are the heartfelt blessings that everyone is accustomed to. Yao Qinxue stared at the child with some emotion. "If the eldest brother of the Jiang family were still alive, would I be able to live a happy life? Miss Yao, I heard that you are quite famous in the business world. My family has had some dealings with your family these days. I wonder if you could give me some convenience." It was called a centenary banquet, but it was just a bridge for many wealthy nobles to communicate with each other. The person who came was Jiang Qilong, who had a sharp-nosed and monkey-faced appearance and a calculating look on his face. This man flashed through Jiang Wuyou's mind. There is not much description of him in the original book. All I can say is that he is a man who can bend down and stand up straight. He has a bit of a strange temper, but he truly puts righteousness first. Whoever has money will get together with him. Yao Qinxue clearly felt that this man was holding her inner arm. She turned around alertly and stared at Jiang Qilong somewhat unnaturally. "Mr. Yang, please respect yourself. I see that Miss Yao didn't bring her male companion with her today. Why don't we sit together so that we can have a good chat?" After hearing about Miss Yao's recent investment, I learned that she encountered some difficulties. Perhaps our Yang family can help Miss Yao to the best of our ability. After hearing what Jiang Qilong said, although Yao Qinxue was unhappy, she did not dare to take any further action. After all, it was the centenary party of Mr. Chen's child. If you make too many moves, you will only attract the host's interest. But if I don't clearly reject this bastard, I guess I will at least be taken advantage of tonight. "Excuse me, Mr. Yang, why are you interested in visiting my sister-in-law today? Who said my sister-in-law doesn't have a male companion?" Jiang Wuyou walked over in a somewhat romantic manner and put his arm around Yao Qinxue's waist. No wonder his elder brother would rather die under the peony flowers and be a romantic ghost. Just looking at Yao Qinxue's figure, he was so good at it that he almost had a nosebleed. This slender waist makes people want to whistle. I heard that there seemed to be some misunderstanding between Mr. Jiang and Miss Yao. I never thought that I misunderstood them and they would appear at the Chen family's centenary banquet. I was really blind and short-sighted. Yang Qilong naturally didn't understand the twists and turns of this wealthy family. He was born into a nouveau riche family and his family simply got lucky. Naturally, he didn't understand the rules and etiquette between these wealthy families. But Miss Yao, there should always be some distance between uncle and sister-in-law. Moreover, Mr. Jiang's name is not a good reputation in the entire city of A. If this spreads 10 times 100 times, it will make others a laughing stock. Yang Qilong was an almost undisguised scoffer. After all, Jiang Wuyou had only taken over the Jiang family for a short time, and most people in the business world looked down on him. What's more, he has always been a playboy, with countless beautiful women around him. He never does any serious work, and the more he is not allowed to do it, the more he wants to do it. The detention center and the law firm almost became his life's two-point line. Now that the eldest brother is in the ICU, everyone in the entire company would rather believe that Yao Qinxue has the ability to hold on than believe that Jiang Wuyou has the ability to run it. If I don't trust my own brother-in-law, who else can I trust? Mr. Yang, this statement sounds like an attempt to sow discord. Yao Qinxue spoke gently and with good temper. After all, the character cannot be destroyed. But Jiang Wuyou is different. He is a rogue to begin with. Moreover, which wealthy noble family in City A has he not offended? Look at what you said. Even if my sister-in-law has a bad taste, she would not look down on people like you. After all, people should have some self-awareness of their appearance, and even more so, have some understanding of their own abilities. Jiang Wuyou said sarcastically. I've heard that the young master of the Jiang family is uneducated and unskilled, not to mention that he is full of foul language. I don't expect to argue with you, a dog with no ivory in his mouth. So, Mr. Yang is going to make trouble for himself and act like a clown here? My sister-in-law has clearly rejected you. If you still want to take advantage of her, it will make Mr. Yang look like a person of no ability. He is bullying a woman. His face turned cold and his eyes seemed a little threatening, which made Jiang Qilong feel deeply oppressed. Jiang Wuyou's eyes were especially narrowed, and a cold feeling emanated from his whole body. In order to protect Yao Qinxue from being disturbed by such lazy and lecherous hooligans, he sat directly next to Yao Qinxue. Although Yao Qinxue herself did not have any good feelings towards Jiang Wuyou, his thoughtful action gave her some psychological comfort. It was probably because Yao Qinshue's face was so beautiful and aggressive, and her figure was so good that no man could resist her. Jiang Wuyou took off his suit jacket and put it on her shoulders. It's still a little cold in the museum, so sister-in-law should put on a coat to keep warm. As their host announced the start of the auction, this was a charity auction that Mr. Chen had specially chosen for their baby. The purpose is to accumulate blessings for the children. Of course, all the wealthy nobles present here naturally have no feelings about these things. What they are most interested in is that the more they donate, the more expensive they can buy. This can not only demonstrate their own strength, but also gain a good reputation. What's more, the money goes into charity foundations, and many children can have books to read and clothes to wear in this way and have a wonderful childhood. Yao Qinxue tilted her head slightly and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for this time. You are my sister-in-law. If I don't treat you well, do I have to treat others well?" Even though she said this, Yao Qinshue's face still turned red. Jiang Wuyou was too close to her, and this time his passionate breeze blew past her ears, causing a little warmth to flow into her heart. Chapter 25, The Scumbag. It seemed that since Jiang Wuyou appeared, Yao Qinxue had never had a good communication with him. After all, Yao Qinshue's goal is to hope that Chen can inherit the Jiang family to help her better maintain the Jiang Group. After all, I am a woman, so I must choose a reliable and trustworthy person to protect the rest of my life. But the appearance of Jiang Wuyou instantly shattered her beautiful vision. She loves her husband very much, even though her husband is now in the ICU and his life or death is uncertain. But she also had to prepare for the worst, to ensure that her husband's company would not fall into the hands of others, and would not be squandered by this prodigal brother-in-law. But today, it seems that Jiang Wuyou is uneducated and has some gangster-like qualities, but he also has a sense of justice. What is your relationship with that Miss Jiu? Last time I went there, it seemed like you were pretty close to that Miss Jiu. Maybe it's really the kind of relationship you think it is. Jiang Wuyou answered without thinking. But when Yao Qinxue heard this, she felt a sense of vigilance and crisis. Not to mention that Yi likes Miss Jiu, she herself also likes that girl from the bottom of her heart. It was just that she had just broken off her engagement with Jiang Wuyou with great difficulty, and now she was flirting with Jiang Wuyou again, which made Yao Qinxue feel uncomfortable. What's more, the slight dissatisfaction that seemed to well up in her heart was not because of Jiu Ruosh's style. Instead, it feels a bit sour and astringent, and very stuffy. Since you and Jiu Ruoshi already have some relationship, you should deal with those affairs outside and stop being fickle. Yao Qinxue almost gritted her teeth when she said this, and she was just about to slap Jiang Wuyou in the face. Jiang Wuyou was quite thick-skinned. He grabbed his hand and felt it carefully, and his face regained its unkind look. It's just that there will be some major cooperation with the Jiu family in the future. There will be a lot of areas for cooperation in the coming days. If sister-in-law doesn't like it and can't stand it, it's better for sister-in-law to go to the scene and take a look in person. He smiled gently, but to Yao Qinxue it seemed like seduction. But these are just excuses. You two don't need to come in person for the next cooperation. If you make the Jiu family unhappy and they come to visit, you will be in trouble. Yao Qinxue frowned in displeasure. Since she is my collaborator, I must make her happy. After all, I have already decided who will be the heroine of this big IP. Seeing Jiang Wuyou so confident, Yao Qinxue became a little suspicious. So you two are. I have always told my sister-in-law that we are in a cooperative relationship, but even the actor of this big IP is a very good partner of mine, so of course I have to please our president Jiu. He coaxed her softly, but it made Yao Qinxue blush. When did this man seduce someone in private like this? Talking about it makes people feel scared. If you don't believe me, you can go ask Miss Jiu. For the sake of my own reputation, I will never fool my sister-in-law. Jiang Wuyou coaxed Yao Qinxue softly, and then she blushed and nodded. The slight dissatisfaction in her heart was slightly relieved, and she was even secretly a little relieved. If Yao Qinshua's subtle expression was placed somewhere else, perhaps others would not be able to guess what he was thinking, but in front of Jiang Wuyou, it swallowed up his emotions bit by bit and was seen clearly. Actually, even if we take a step back, a woman like Miss Jiu is not my type, he said with some curiosity. The people on the stage displayed exhibits one after another, while the uncle and sister-in-law below the stage kept making small movements. So what type do you like? Sister-in-law, I can find one for you. This is related to the future of the Jiang family, so as a sister-in-law, I naturally have to help you with the screening. Yao Qinxue raised her eyebrows and asked casually. I like girls with long hair and big eyes, who are somewhat sexy and charming. Most importantly, they have to be smart, have a good figure, and have long legs. And most importantly, I really don't like tech faces. I like the kind of natural faces with dimples when they smile, like my sister-in-law. Jiang Wuyou stared at Yao Qinxue seriously, then spoke slowly, and every key word hit Yao Qinshue's point. Originally Yao Qinxue had not reacted until he turned around and met Jiang Wuyou's burning gaze. When he heard Jiang Wuyou read out his name with certainty, he could not help swallowing and his eyes were slightly stunned. Do you know who I am? Then sister-in-law, do you know why I want to cooperate with you to drive Yang Qilong away? That kind of bastard is not worthy of my perfect sister-in-law. He said it lightly, causing Yao Qinshue's mouth to be harder to hold back than AK. Even after thinking about all the sad things in my heart, I still couldn't suppress the excitement in my heart. She turned her head away mechanically. If her husband who was lying in the ICU saw this scene, he would probably be so angry that he would sit up from the bed. The two of them whispering and slowly approaching each other in the hustle and bustle of life was like a painting of a couple of gods, and was captured in time. Everyone says that the uncle and sister-in-law of the Jiang family have always had a bad relationship, but now that this photo has been released, who would dare to spread the word that the relationship between the two is tense? However, when Yang Qilong, who was hiding in the corner, saw this scene, he was so angry that his teeth were chattering. He never thought that a tyrannical gangster like Jiang Wuyou could be taken seriously by Yao Qinshuo, and even stay by her side without caring about past grudges or interests. Fortunately, their Yang family can be considered a large and powerful family, so they cannot compare with the rich and powerful nobles in terms of background and sophistication. But after all, it was something that only happened in the family of a nouveau riche. The wealthy nobles present here might not be as wealthy as he was. What's more, Jiang Wuyou is a playboy by nature. Why can Yao Qinshuo ignore ethics and follow Jiang Wuyou? Perhaps Yang Qilong would never figure out why women like scumbags in his life. After all, if you pout your lips, the scumbag will kiss you, and if you lift your butt, the scumbag will let you sit on his lap. After all, scumbags can provide greater emotional value to women, while men like him have pointed faces and monkey cheeks, and are just nouveau riche in terms of money. In terms of cultural background, they cannot compete with those wealthy aristocrats. Power, status, and even background, for these highly educated women, you must have one of them in order for them to find you extremely attractive. Yao Qinshuo already had a fortune of this kind. Although she couldn't get all of the Jiang family's wealth, half of it could fall into her hands for her to squander endlessly. So why would she be interested in a nouveau riche like Yang Qilong? Chapter 26, A Beautiful Woman's Smile. Although the Yang family has no power or status, they have plenty of money. The investments made by the Yang family during this period can be considered to be extremely lucky, and they make money on whatever they invest in. Does he not worry at all that one day he might squander all his family's wealth? The two of them came today and this charity auction was also held. The most important thing was that the items being auctioned this time were handicrafts that the eldest brother of the Jiang family had made himself and were used to propose to Yao Qinshuo. This pink diamond of nearly 5 carats caught everyone's attention as soon as it appeared. As for why this 5-carat diamond ring appeared at Mr. Chen's auction, the main reason was that when Yao Qinshuo and her husband first went to the banquet, they didn't expect it to be a charity auction, and they didn't have anything valuable on them, so they took out the pink diamond ring as a donation. Unexpectedly, it ended up back at this auction. When Yao Qinshuo recognized at a glance that this 5-carat pink diamond was her engagement ring, he was so surprised that he almost fell off his chair. However, Jiang Wuyou in the original novel naturally knew the significance of this diamond ring to Yao Qinshuo. So the two of them have always been in a hostile relationship, but at this time he naturally didn't want to let the diamond ring fall into his family. This diamond ring was given to you by your brother, right? Yao Qinxue didn't say anything. She just stared at the pink diamond ring in silence, feeling a mixture of emotions in her heart. The diamond ring, which originally represented happiness, has now become a gift full of value to others. I just feel that my happiness now may be just like this auction price. Don't worry, sister-in-law. Since you like it and want it back, I will naturally try my best to help you get this diamond ring. When Yao Qinxue heard Jiang Wuyou say this, her face lit up. Although he controlled half of the Jiang family's property, he had no right to control such large expenditures. Therefore, when faced with this situation, he could only ask Jiang Wuyou for help. It depends on fate. Jiang Qilong is a vindictive man. His family doesn't have any special abilities, but they are rich. You offended him today, so it's good that he doesn't make things difficult for you in this matter. Buy diamond rings, one big brother, two sisters-in-law. Besides, a beautiful woman's smile can make me happy. Hearing Jiang Wuyou's boast, Yao Qinxue blushed a little. The Yang family has plenty of money, so do what you can. Their host smiled and began to announce the pink diamond ring. The carving and the pink diamond were all carefully selected by Jiang Wuyou's elder brother. Therefore, whether in terms of size or the shape of the diamond carving, the design of the diamond ring is completely in line with Yao Qinxue's aesthetic, so the finale style this time is this diamond ring. He is of great significance and represents romantic love. The bidding has begun. The starting price is 100 million. Jiang Wuyou raised the sign first. 200 million. 300 million. 450 million. 500 million. Jiang Wuyou and Jiang Qilong were like little kids competing with each other, bidding against each other one by one. It was because the two of them raised the price of the diamond ring so high that everyone around who originally wanted to bid put down their signs. If you talk about a small goal, if you have two small goals, there will still be people playing with you. If you have more than 3 small goals, and it seems that when it comes to 5 small goals, it is already the limit for most companies, and it is also the working capital that most company presidents can come up with. There's no need to break their bank for a small diamond ring. Yao Qinxue couldn't help but pull Jiang Wuyou's sleeve. 500 million, are you crazy? This thing is so expensive. Your eldest brother didn't spend so much money when he made this ring for me. 500 million is for sentiment, for the gift of love from big brother to you. If I can't even keep this diamond ring, what else can I keep? Hearing Jiang Wuyou say this, Yao Qinxue's face darkened. 600 million. Jiang Qilong held up his sign without exaggeration. Although Jiang Wuyou was ready to add more money, Yao Qinxue forced him to stop. No matter how much he wanted to, what would he do after he took out all the money and brought it to the company? Jiang Wuyou can be brainless and irresponsible, but the Jiang family is now in his hands, and he can't help but consider these things. Just as Yao Qinxue was estimating the price of the diamond ring in her mind, although he was reluctant, he had no choice but to stop. Jiang Wuyou continued to hold up the sign without thinking. 800 million. There was an uproar at the scene. Is this diamond ring really that valuable? It's just a ring. He spent 800 million to buy love for his sister-in-law and eldest brother. He is indeed the prodigal son of the Jiang family. Let's see if this prodigal son can come up with so much money. Even if the Jiang family is rich, 800 million is not a small amount. Everyone was whispering, wondering if Jiang Wuyou would really be convinced by the money. Their host paused for 3 seconds. If there is no bid increase during the 8 ones, then it will be final. 3, 2, 1. I declare that this big pink diamond ring belongs to our CEO Jiang. Thunderous applause broke out at the scene, and everyone's eyes were cast towards Jiang Wuyou, with shock, admiration, and even disbelief. 800 million yuan, any boss can spend the money without a second thought. Jiang Wuyou was currently in the limelight, so Jiang Qilong had no choice but to frown and lower his head. If he really spent the 800 million, the Yang family would probably declare bankruptcy. His father didn't want to rely on the funds he had accumulated with great difficulty to help his family get married into a wealthy family. If I spent 8, I would have bought a big pink diamond ring. Not only would his father not call him unsophisticated, he would probably kick him out of the house. 800 million, even if it's just a sentiment, it shouldn't be this much. Jiang Wuyou arrogantly put the pink diamond ring back to Yao Qinshue's hand in front of everyone. Although I am an uneducated bastard, I also understand what kind of things have feelings and what kind of things represent unique memories. This diamond ring is a memory given by my eldest brother to my sister-in-law. Now my eldest brother can be regarded as a retired position. For my eldest brother, this diamond ring is a symbol of their love. Now that I have given this diamond ring to my sister-in-law, it can be regarded as the fulfillment of my eldest brother's dream. As soon as he finished speaking, thunderous applause broke out in the arena. Although Jiang Wuyou is a bastard, he is a real man in this matter. At the same time, Jiang Qilong, who married Jiang Wuyou, became a troublemaker in the eyes of others. Originally he was a popular commodity in the eyes of others, but because of a momentary fit of anger, he made others spend 800 million to get back the item that originally belonged to him. Chapter 27 Unhappy. Jiang Qilong felt so angry when he saw Jiang Wuyou's arrogant and domineering appearance, but he could do nothing about it. All the limelight in this scene was stolen by Jiang Wuyou alone, so how could I stand out? It was obvious that the bidding process just now was simply making things difficult for Jiang Wuyou alone. Anyone who watched it would be unable to help but look down upon it. If I let you go so easily, I would be shameless. Thinking of this, he immediately stood in front of Jiang Wuyou. His arrogant look made anyone who saw him want to slap him twice. Yao Qinshuo herself was touching the necklace around her neck with some excitement, a happy smile on her face. This necklace was originally a token of love between her and her husband. Now that he has come back to me after so many twists and turns, it is a pleasant surprise no matter how I think about it. In addition, although Jiang Wuyou still looks careless, he is much better than before. If he can correct himself, he may be able to inherit the Jiang family one day in the future. It can be considered a relief for her husband. In short, the expression on Yao Qinshue's face can be said to be ever-changing. Thousands of feelings surged in her heart in an instant, and no one could guess what the meaning of her expression was. But Jiang Wuyou, who was beside her, could see through it easily. Jiang Wuyou looked at Yao Qinshuo tenderly. Coincidentally, Jiang Qilong was standing between the two of them. You have been in the spotlight today, kid. If you want to leave here today, you must step over me. I want to see what a stubborn kid like you can do. As he spoke, Jiang Qilong waved his hand, and the bodyguards around him formed a circle. They just happened to surround the two of them, and it looked like they were outnumbered but had more power. If it were the usual Jiang Wuyou, perhaps he would give in, or maybe he would be afraid, and he would wonder why his elder brother was not in good health. But now, as Jiang Wuyou was already familiar with the plot, there was no expression on his face. He just looked at the bodyguard in front of him coldly. You are a coward, you can keep raising the price if you have the guts. Remember that I am at least the heir of the Jiang family. Everyone has to call me Mr. Jiang when they see me. You are just a second-generation son. As long as your father is alive, you will never be able to take the throne. Jiang Wuyou said whatever he wanted to say, which made Jiang Qilong want to slap him in the face. Although this prince looks wretched, it can be considered that he has been trained for a long time. After all, his face has become like this. If his figure cannot keep up, which girl would be willing to follow him? He has no power and no influence. He is just trying to figure out a way to deceive young girls and college students. But if he wants to deceive some celebrities, aristocrats, or even some highly educated women, it is like a toad wanting to eat swan meat. It is simply a fantasy. Just as Jiang Wuyou was looking at Jiang Qilong with mockery, Jiang Qilong tried to slap Jiang Wuyou in the face with lightning speed. Yao Qinshuo was so scared that she almost screamed. She covered her mouth with her hands and her pupils dilated. Careful. What was unexpected was that Jiang Wuyou grabbed Jiang Qilong's hand and even threw him heavily to the ground with a single move. Obviously, the crisp sound seemed to be the sound of Jiang Wuyou directly breaking Jiang Qilong's hand. The man fell to his knees with disdain in his eyes. Come on, everyone. I don't believe that we can't beat this guy with so many of us. Jiang Qilong said angrily, and the bodyguards around him naturally listened to Jiang Qilong's words, and all rushed forward. Before Xiao Jiang Wuyou could do anything, he knocked his family to the ground. Jiang Qilong, who was lying on the ground, received a call from his father. You bastard, do you know who he is? He is from the Jiang family. Although our family is rich, after all, we can't compare to this big and powerful family. His family background is here. You can mess with anyone else, but this second-generation ancestor. Do you want to die or are you crazy? Dad, it was this kid who bullied me first, but instead of helping me, you're still here complaining about how I can have a father like you. Don't say I'm your dad. If you don't handle this, you won't have to come home again. Anyway, there are many sons in this family, and they don't need a loser like you. You can be an uneducated bastard, but you are definitely not a good-for-nothing who can cause trouble for me. Hearing Jiang Qilong's father speak so harshly, Jiang Qilong hung up the phone immediately. Without his father's financial support, he would be no different from those homeless people outside. First, he has no education, and second, he has no money, so it is impossible for the girls around him to follow him. Having said this, Jiang Qilong immediately waved his hands and pushed the bodyguards aside. He knelt on the ground with a smile on his face. Oh, my dear brother, I was blind today and let you delay. You see, we are strangers to each other. I will let my people leave immediately and not disturb your good nature. Jiang Qilong was about to leave when Jiang Wuyou grabbed him. This time it was Jiang Qilong who knelt on the ground in fear. His hands hung beside his arms, swinging back and forth. They were completely dislocated and he couldn't move. It was painful in itself, but he only had one hand to keep banging his head against the ground. He was afraid that Jiang Wuyou would have something to do with his family because of these things. Then he would really be kicked out of the house by his father. You are quite sensible, but I heard that your company seems to have other plans recently. If you have other plans, please remember to send the contract to our house so that I can take a look. Also, no matter what happens to my family, it is not your turn to take care of them, not to mention my sister-in-law, so it is not your turn to worry about her. After saying that, he kicked Jiang Qilong and knocked him heavily to the ground. The bodyguard beside him wanted to step forward to help, but was glared at by Jiang Wuyou and pushed aside. Jiang Qilong even put on a fake smile and waved the bodyguards around him casually. At least from Jiang Wuyou's perspective, Jiang Qilong was completely defeated by him. But it is obvious that if the Jiang family had not been manipulating behind the scenes, a prodigal son like Jiang Qilong would naturally not be able to admit defeat so easily. However, such a bastard would sooner or later bring himself into greater trouble. Jiang Wuyou didn't think much and just hugged Yao Qinshui and left. On the other side, Jiu Ruonan, who was sitting in the corner, stared at the necklace on Yao Qinshui's neck, with an impatient smile on her face. If my dear sister knew that the man she holds dearly is spending a fortune to buy such an expensive necklace for a nominal sister-in-law, it would be a shame. This is 800 million.